Well, hello out there, Grim.
Don't tell anybody I'll kill you! I'll kill you!
He's crackhead in the town.
Peanut butter and crackers.
He kicked his habit back in the joint. Now he's out on coins.
Here I come!
He's finally home. He's Tyrone.
And that's Tyrone Biggins, people out there. How we doing? All right, welcome to the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. Of course, we always have to have some Tyrone Biggums on here because he is our mascot now. Anyways, so welcome to Friday night's MCU Bleeding Style Edge edition of DC Animated Reviews, people. So we have recently started doing DC animated films for you guys, going over them, talking about them, and we're trying to do them in the order they were released. So as you know, if certain films come out that are more recent and we're going on with older stuff, just to let you guys know that's how we're doing it. We are going old school for you guys. So we are on to the second film. This is our second outing of doing one of these DC animated films. We are doing Justice League: The New Frontier, which came out in 2008. Now, this film had a really great voice cast. I mean, amazing voice cast. Yeah, it really did.
This is one of DC's best voice casts.
Yeah, I mean, you got David Rans, you had Neil Patrick Harris. I mean, you have quite a few great.
Half of our crew just froze up, or they're moving really fast, like the Flash.
Yeah, maybe. Flash might be a part of this. But anyways, so yeah, we had a great voice cast, directed by Dave Bullock, which I was trying to research him and see if he had done anything else, but I couldn't find his name on anything else. So I think this is like his one feature that he's done. He might have done more, but that's all I found in my research. But yeah, this is a really solid film. We're going to get into talking about that for you guys tonight. We'll be talking about that. And then after this animated film, we will be doing a James Gunn new DCU segment where we'll be talking about the changes that, you know, James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to be doing for the DCU. So we're going to get into that a little bit after this review. So basically, to start off this review, we're going to check out the trailer. Do you have that trailer ready, Sir Jeff?
I believe I do, sir.
So let's give everyone a refresher on this animated feature.
There might even be two.
As long as it's not Tarzan.
Yeah.
On the edge of a new frontier. The frontier of unknown opportunities and peril. I'm asking each of you to be pioneers towards that new frontier.
Him.
The ultimate evil.
Yeah.
JLA.
There is another one. Hold on, I'll pull it up right now. It's the here, I'll read it off the title to you right now. It's a special edition one. I believe. It's let's see. The commemorative one. It's a commemorative edition. It says Justice League: The New Frontier Commemorative Edition trailer. It came out 5 years ago.
Yeah,
that would have been the 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
It's a living island, at least 25 miles across. 2 minutes ago, we watched it inhale an entire aircraft carrier.
We face a threat big enough to wipe us off the Earth.
Wow, his costume is so minimalistic.
Yeah.
You won't be
it looks so like George Reeves' costume in the TV show.
Time to see what this ring can really do.
All of you.
Well, this does take place in the 50s, so they're trying to stay with the times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Are you with me?
I appreciate the costumes here compared to the New 52, and like I don't like the armor for DC stuff. Like it's fine with Batman. I'm fine with Batman because he's human. It's like, but not every superhero needs an armor. Like Superman doesn't need one. Green Lantern, doesn't need one. It's just I don't know. I when I rewatched this the movie yesterday and the trailers, which is I dug the retro costumes, from the Silver Age of DC, and it's just and just one thing I just want to bring up, rest in peace, Darwyn Cooke. I do want to bring it up. I don't know the audience know. Unfortunately, he passed away I think 2014 of cancer, I think. So, oh my God, when I rewatched this, I was like, damn, this is a great film. And the team did such a good job of honoring his art, his work. And this is my favorite adaptation of any DC work in period. I think this just truly brings Darwyn Cooke's vision. But yeah, rest in peace, buddy. He's one of the best artists. I love his artwork. And this movie, the trailer and the movie really captures Cooke's artwork so amazingly. I just love it.
Yeah, he died in 2016 of a very aggressive cancer. He was only 53. Yeah. He would have been 60. He would have turned 60 last year. Yeah. He was a young artist, so yeah, that is sad, very sad.
A lot of people consider New Frontier his apex work, and it was really the work that really put him on the mainstream map. And unfortunately, he didn't have enough time left to get really another opportunity at something big. But he was much beloved. I know, especially on the convention circuit, he was always great to the fans, and his style was so unique and so just perfect for what New Frontier, the story of New Frontier, and fit it so well that it was a shame to lose him. But I really do think that this film really pays tribute to what he did with the graphic novel.
Yeah, it was nice to see that he wrote additional material for this film when they put it out. So he was a part of it. So that was nice to know. But like I was saying, this movie has a huge cast of voiceovers. Like I said, David Brands, Miguel Ferreira does a voice in it, Neil Patrick Harris, John Hurd, Kyle MacLachlan. Yep. Yeah. Lucy Lawless, Phil Morris, Kira Sedgwick, Brooke Shields, Jeremy Sisto.
Damn.
Jeremy Sisto actually is Batman's voice, which is funny because when he first talked, I was like, that doesn't sound like Jeremy Sisto to me. But then I remember I'm like, okay, I've seen a few movies with him, and I remember he did do a deeper voice in some scenes, and now I get it. Yeah, I get that voiceover most definitely.
He's like the most underrated Batman voice. I love his Batman voice. I wish we had a 1950s Batman anime series of him voicing. It's just, oh my God, pitch perfect.
Well, I went into the movie blind. I didn't do any research going into it at all. I just wanted to watch it, just to enjoy it. So I didn't take notes or anything. I just watched it. So I didn't even know, and I don't think it matters really. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I didn't even notice that was Neil Patrick Harris that was voicing Barry Allen. I couldn't tell. Somebody would have had to indicate it to me at some point for me to even realize that, or else I would have never known. I didn't notice Kira Sedgwick. I didn't notice any of them. But then you got to remember too, they've aged. But at the same time too. So you're saying that this movie is what? Is set in the 60s?
50s.
50s.
The 50s.
54, I think, is where the year it starts.
Okay, 54. Yeah. All right, so this is similar to like the one of the Justice League films I saw, well, the most recent ones I saw, where they go back to like World War II or whatever.
Justice League, the Justice Society of America World War II movie.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
No, so it's interesting. I like that they did that, all that, whatnot. That makes more sense.
It's interesting because this movie opens up. It's the end of the Korean War.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right, and also, oh, you know what? I'm sorry, Cyber. We never even had a chance to even let the guys introduce themselves. We just jumped into the show. I forgot. Do you want? Would you like to go ahead and allow Andres to talk about his podcast real quick and let everybody know who he is?
Oh,
So
okay.
go right ahead, Andres.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas Diaz, but my main YouTube channel is Andreas the Pop Culture Channel Presents. My character name is the Pop Culture Guy. So yeah, I've been doing this thing for the last 8 years, since 2013, and I have 2 channels. I have a secondary channel called DC and Marvel Plus Talk, where I mainly focus on DC and Marvel content, and I have a podcast. And the Pop Culture Channel Presents is all pop culture things I do: movies, TV, and celebrities, and any in forms of podcasts or tube reviews, or I do comic read series, I edit them, and so that's mainly my job, doing what I've been doing for the last 8 years. And I want to say thank you, you guys, for inviting me here. Do a DC animation film, especially this one, The New Frontier. It's in my top 3 favorite DC.
Did you say that you actually, is your podcast called Marvel Plus?
Marvel Plus Talk. That's my podcast.
Okay, the only reason why I asked is because Brett Cyber does Marvel Plus. So I was gonna be like, holy shit, you get the same title that Brett does. We haven't seen Brett in forever, but I forgot his last name. But Brett's a guest we've had at the Bleeding Edge before and whatnot. His podcast is called Marvel Plus.
I think he's in my Facebook group of DC Marvel Plus Talk.
He's in a lot of them.
Yeah, I think I know. Maybe I know what you're talking about. But yeah. So yeah, I want to thank you, Jeff and Cyber, for inviting me here. I just love DC. I mean, I'm a huge Batman fan. Yes, that's why I picked Batman first. Sorry about that, Jeff. And yeah,
that's okay. Thanks, She-Hulk. She-Hulk gave me your number.
Well, I know the Hulk personally, so because I cross over the multiverse. Anyway, this movie is top 3 for me, and so I'm so happy to discuss this. So yes.
Excellent, thank you. So yeah, definitely check out the Pulp Culture Guy, people. Yeah. All right, and of course we have returning, of course, Mr. Kyle here. Go ahead, Kyle, and remind people where you're from, sir.
I am, of course, I'm from the Fandom Podcast Network, which is the home of such shows as True Believers, our Marvel podcast, Culture Class, our general pop culture podcast. We have a Star Wars podcast, a Highlander podcast, all kinds of fun things going on in pop culture at the Fandom Podcast Network. We both have our main podcast feed, fpnet.podbean.com. And, of course, we have our great YouTube channel, too, Fandom Podcast Network. But like I said, we cover a wide variety of fandom with a wide variety of shows. I can't keep track of it myself sometimes, but we have fun, and I am excited to talk New Frontier, one of my favorite DC animated films of all time.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so let's get into the meat of this. So the movie starts off with basically a narration of a entity unknown who calls themselves the Center. And basically they tell the story of how they were born and how they witnessed the evolution of dinosaurs and basically the creation of man and how they evolved and how he felt that, or they felt, the capacity for war and violence in the world needs to be stopped, and that he must eradicate the humans in order to, basically set the earth right. So after that story, right at the end of that, we see, supposedly we think it's the author that's talking, or the narrator, and they shoot themselves, commit suicide, which is, I thought, really interesting way of starting this, movie off and giving us that kind of dramatic effect there, which I thought was really well done. Now, basically, we end up going to the end of the Korean War, as we had mentioned before, as we've talked in passing, and we meet Hal Jordan. Now, one thing I got to say about this film is that it takes almost halfway through the movie before Hal Jordan gets his Green Lantern powers, which I find very funny. But anyways, I just think that was kind of an interesting little, origin story mixed into a Justice League film, kind of, but I thought that was kind of interesting. But anyway, so we meet Hal Jordan and his wingman Kyle Ace Morgan. They're being attacked by enemies at the end of the Korean War. He ends up getting shot at. They both get shot at. They try to stop, basically take out all the planes, and they don't successfully do that until, Hal gets almost shot down before he eradicates the rest of them, and he ends up falling down. We see him parachuting down into Korea, and he takes out an enemy, as he's falling down parachuting. They kind of get into a little fight, and we see Hal basically kill the guy, and then it basically, that's the last we see of Hal Jordan for a little bit. So once that happens, then in Gotham, that's when we're introduced to John, or AKA the Martian Manhunter, that is the last surviving Green Martians. And he's talking with somebody that's dying, who happens to be basically considered, I believe, John Jones, I think he's supposed to be. And basically, Martian Manhunter ended up taking on his look after the guy passes. And so that's when basically he disguised himself as that guy. And then once again, that's all we see of Martian Manhunter for that brief of a second. This movie does a lot of jumping back and forth between characters because there's so many characters in this film, which it's one of the few films I've seen recently where they jump from character to character, and it felt actually accomplished, I feel. Like the story that they were trying to show before they jumped to the next scene, it felt complete. So I did appreciate, even though it did jump from several characters, because there's so many characters in this, I did appreciate that they did have like a full thought before they moved on, which I really enjoyed. Yes, Kyle.
And I think the reason for that is because they did in the writing of this movie, they did such a wonderful job of having a connecting tissue between all these characters with the general theme of the movie and what's going on when you're looking at it from the 50s perspective and the sensibilities then compared to the modern perspective. I think it tied them all the characters together in a roundabout way, but it made it to where you felt like you had this connective tissue and you knew the puzzle pieces were all coming together in place later in the film.
Yeah, I completely agree. Also, it also helps that we have two archetype protagonists. We have the one with Martian Manhunter as the outsider, and so we have a character that is not from our world, and we see him adapting to the customs of humanity, and his whole arc is about how he needs, he's slowly embracing humanity and trying to fit in, sort of what if Superman, wasn't raised by, parents, and that's basically what Martian Manhunter is doing here. And then with Hal, Hal Jordan, he's the grounded character. He's the everyman point of view for us. He's like our audience point of view to this crazy theme we're going to enter in a new frontier, because, Hal, this movie did so much better than the Green Lantern movie. I don't know if you guys seen the Ryan Reynolds one, but this did a better job of handling how Hal is, he thinks he's a coward, but he's not, because, his life was, threatened by that Korean soldier. And I think one of the things this movie did so good is showing, that, Hal is this very courageous person. He just needs to, accept that, this risk to save, billions of people, or himself in that moment, and overcome that fear. And I think this movie did such a good job, and especially origin story. This could have been a huge mess, but they did such a good job of being consistent in what Hal is going through, and just what what a person reacts to these things. It's just very realistically. Especially this time, of the 50s.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
All right, so after that, then we go to Central City. We meet Iris West and Barry Allen. The casino that Iris is at is basically overtaken by Mr. Freeze. And Mr. Freeze comes in and starts doing his craziness. And basically, as he's on the phone with Iris, Barry hears all the commotion and zooms his way over to the casino in Vegas. and goes there to stop Mr. Freeze, and he ends up, basically.
Are we sure it was Mr. Freeze? I thought it was Captain Cold.
It's Captain Cold.
Captain Cold. Yeah.
Okay, Captain Cold then. Mr. Freeze and Captain Cold basically, I feel, are the exact same character.
Yeah, I can get that.
So Captain Cold, if you whatever you want to call him.
I thought it was Mr. Cold, to be honest with you. So I was all fucked up. I thought it was Mr. Cold.
It was an amalgamation of the two.
I think so. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, Captain Cold, you're correct. Yeah, it's Captain Cold who commits the robbery. All right.
He was pretty fucking bare bones, man, for a villain. Like, he was pretty fucking bare bones, dude.
Well, it was weird. Like, he has a weird design. Why didn't he go to his classic suit from the comics? I don't get that. Like,
they couldn't fit that in the budget.
Yeah. So Captain Cold, So Captain Cold, and Barry goes there and basically stops him. So before we move on past that, let's talk about this intro to this film. What did you guys think about the intro to the film? What did you like about it? What did you think? Did they stay pretty accurate to the original New Frontier comic? And just overall, what was your thoughts on that first intro sequence of these several characters that we're introduced to? Starting with you, Kyle.
I think first of all, I think that the whole movie does pay great tribute to the comic and really holds the spirit of the comic. But as far as this opening scene, what I really liked about it was the fact that they jumped around to the different characters and showed you their world and where they're coming from. And I kind of want to jump on what Andres was saying with what they established as our two protagonists really of this movie in John Jones and Hal Jordan. It's interesting because they're both looking for the same thing, but they're coming from different places for it. John Jones is looking to get accepted by humanity and fit back into humanity and fit into humanity, while Hal Jordan's looking kind of to get back into humanity himself after the trauma he went through, and including that incredibly powerful moment, which I was a little shocked that they initially put it in there when he shoots the Korean soldier in the head, and even though it was shadowed and stuff like that, it's a pretty powerful thing for DC animated, especially in 2008. So that was pushing the envelope. I loved everything with the Flash in Vegas with Iris West. It was just fun, and it's everything you want from the Flash as far as that type of character. They're using Captain Cold, who's kind of basically one of the top of the Rogue Flashes. Rogue's Gallery was a great choice, and just even how they set up the feeling of the world in the 50s. With the Korean War ending and just the sensibilities that are going on. And I know we're going to see that a little bit more as we get more characters introduced here shortly.
Excellent. Thank you, Kyle. Andres, your thoughts, sir. Same question, please.
Yes. I want to get into the titles. The titles are amazing. I mean, I love it. They really captured, Darwyn's Cooke design, artwork. I mean, it's like comparing this to Superman Doomsday, where that looks like the typical Bruce Timm design from Superman the Animated Series. This is okay, he can adapt to any artwork from a graphic novel, so that was great, and I think that's one of the things I love about this. And the characters intros are amazing because they take you away into the decades and what's the themes and what was going on during the 50s that a lot of our generation doesn't know. And they really do that great with visual storytelling and dialogue. Great. I love when Hal say, the war is over and it's over. And it's it hits you. And yeah, I agree with Kyle. The Flash is it's like a classic one-shot issue of him versus Captain Cold. So I just love it. One nitpick very quickly, what the heck? Captain Cold's design is awful. Why you didn't go to the classic? I don't know. Anyway, just those minutes are incredible. Love it.
Thank you. Jeff, your thoughts, sir?
Well, I mean, I really like the fact that I think from jump, you get you right off the bat, you get don't you get Kennedy or somebody or someone doing some kind of voiceover right off the bat, right during the intro? Isn't there something like that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe they were making it to be Kennedy in the intro.
Yes. Now, I thought that was really interesting because and now again, here I am. I'm bitching at Andres in the private chat about this, but I'm gonna do it myself. Like I thought it was really neat. I didn't expect it at all. Like I got it that it was like that. I didn't realize what decade it was, but I knew that it was like set back in the past. I knew it wasn't like real time or whatever, 2008 or whatever. I heard them talking about Eisenhower and like and everything and whatnot and all that. Like, I mean, communism. I mean, honestly, you don't hear people talking about commies very often these days. So bottom line, no, I thought that they handled the political aspect of the movie well. It was really well done. Like, and we'll flush it out later and whatnot. I don't want to like circumvent you, Cyber, at all. I just thought it was surprising to me because I mean, again. I've only watched basically maybe like, I don't know, 6 or 7, maybe 8 total DC animated films on HBO Max, right? So that's all I've ever seen. And some of them I fell asleep during them. I've got to go, because I put them on as like go to sleep stuff, like that's how I am. I have look, at least I'm trying, guys. Like, come on, you don't know, Andres, but I have a hard time sometimes watching movies sometimes and TV shows. It's hard for me. So, like, I've gotten into it. I'll tell you right now, I won't bullshit you. I've gotten into a lot of the DC stuff on HBO Max. Cyber will tell you, I've been watching the new Teen Titan, that Titans show they did there for a while. I've been watching that.
That's very good.
Yeah, I might get into Doom Patrol too. At some point here soon. I hear lots of good things, but either way, no, it surprised me. It shocked me. It was like I was like, oh shit! It never occurred to me that they would actually have like politics in this shit. Like, they would actually interject, like, left and right and everything and whatnot in a DC animated film like this. Like, it just surprised me. I didn't expect it. Honestly, to tell you the truth. But then again, this is 2008. So, like, things weren't quite so PC at that point. But, so, the whole deal with, the fact that they had the scene jumping and whatnot. I love John Jones in the movie, in the film. I think he's just, like, for me, he's, like, the best character out of the whole film for me, overall. From jump, I was like, I knew who he was right from jump. I knew by John Jones that he was Martian Manhunter. It didn't matter that he was human, right? Like, I don't know enough about DC to know that. So, like, it's cool, like, to be, like, a loose DC fan like I am. And know, like, be able to watch the movies and not have to look anything up and know that that's Martian Manhunter, right? Even though I probably only maybe read 2 comics in my life that have had him in it. Maybe, right? And that's it. So, no, like, but yeah, I like the fact that that they had that like raw fucking like scene where where he's like the war's over, the war's over, the war's over, or whatever he says, and he's repeating it over and over again, even after the guy's already shot himself or whatever. Basically,
Yeah.
like that was pretty intense. Like, I mean, that was some shit you'd expect to see on like The Last of Us. Not like friggin' like a DC animated film, I wouldn't think, but like that's pretty much it. I mean, that's what I kind of took from it was just like what a leap from like Superman Doomsday and that like rating, I guess, or like the adult themes of that to this is a big jump.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, very quickly. Like, one of the things I like about the DC animated films compared to live action, they failed to understand to combine like serious tones with light and like human moments, to their products. It's like that's one reason I don't like BVS because it's so just so like rock, like grunge rock, like love violence, all that. Like it's like it doesn't make sense, and that's one of the things I love about Justice League and Frontier. They balance the violence with human moments of our characters so well, like the Avengers films,
Just like the night She-Hulk down me. There was human moments, and then there was like manhandling and fucking rape, and there was all kinds of shit.
Ooh, oh god, I cannot respond to that.
Yeah, you gotta stop. You gotta stop that. You gotta stop Lauer to do that, man. You gotta get in there. You gotta tell him who's boss.
How do you tell a bitch that's 7 foot tall and can pick up cars and shit and whatnot who's boss?
You find their weakness.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. Well.
The smell of flowers.
I guess so. Look, if I can handle Jennifer Walters, if I met her in real life, I could probably connect with her and shit and bang her easily. I think she seems like a slut to me. You know, that's how she was conveyed in the show anyway, right? And then the comic is like she's kind of a slut. She's she's not a slut, but she's very free with like her sexuality or whatever. But either way, though, I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't be doing the walk of shame like fucking Daredevil.
Yep.
Yeah, we can agree on that.
I would only do that if I was wearing my Tuscan Sand People costume.
There we go. All right. So, thank you. So, a scene that I forgot to mention was the introduction of Superman and Wonder Woman. That happens shortly after the Hal Jordan thing. Actually, we pop there. We go to it. That's when it tells us what year it's supposed to be in the film, 1954 in Indo-Asia. And Superman flies there and finds Wonder Woman there, and basically goes and has a conversation with her about needing her help. And she basically says no, and Superman leaves. And so I was curious to get before we move on, what was your guys' thoughts on that sequence? What did you guys think about the Superman Wonder Woman little combo station there? Did you find it interesting? Did you think it was necessary for the film? And what was your just your overall thoughts on that little sequence? Starting with you, Andreas.
Sure. I mean, that scene is very important because it tells you who Superman and Wonder Woman is. Superman is trying to like especially this time he's supporting the McCarthy thing, so he's siding with the government. He's the government boy. If you know your Superman history, it's sort of like the same thing with the Dark Knight Returns, where he was like helping the government. So he's trying to balance that and trying to keep the percentage that superheroes are for the people, by helping out the government. And with Wonder Woman, she's she's trying to she's all about freedom and love. And you see that here where she's freeing these, unfortunately, these prison women from these horrible soldiers, that torture them, and, you get that whole point. And, she has a different method, and, she understands what she's doing, but she doesn't agree with what the government's saying because she thinks that they're controlling it. Like, they want to control them, and that's not right, because they can easily do, what Civil War over Marvel, where the government wants to control the enhanced people. So that's why Wonder Woman did what she did, and yeah, it's unethical, but you can't blame her.
I think it would have been better. It would have been more captivating if one of those chicks would have started talking like that chick from Platoon. That one that's like, me so horny. Love you long time, USGI and all that shit. If one of them would have started talking like that, that would have been dope.
By the way, I'm a Stanley Kubrick fan. That's from Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket. I'm sorry, my bad. I apologize.
No worries. That scene cracks me up. Full Metal Jacket.
All right. God. So since you're talking, Jeff, what were your thoughts on that Superman Wonder Woman scene?
Anything with Wonder Woman and Superman is fucking awesome. What are you kidding me? It doesn't even matter. They can just wash each other's hair or some shit, and I'd watch it. You know what I'm saying? They have to talk. You know what I'm saying? It's like the Avengers, it's Wonder Woman and Superman. What do you want me to say? You don't have to read the comics and whatnot and everything and be I'm a diehard, I have so many boxes of freaking Marvel comics out in the garage and my dad's bitching at me. He's like, you need to sell those fucking things and all this other stuff and whatnot. Well, my son doesn't want them. There's so many of them. He doesn't have enough space for them. But the thing is these heroes are intrinsic. We know who they are. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to know. I don't have to have read 50 Wonder Woman comics or whatever. I know when I see Wonder Woman and freaking Superman on screen, it doesn't matter if it's live action or animated, who's voicing it. It can be Jar Jar voicing fucking one of them. I don't care, right? It doesn't make any. Well, no, I don't know. Jar Jar would kind of fuck up a little bit, but no. But seriously though, it's Wonder Woman and Superman, and they just have this gravity about them, right? There's this legitimacy about them that separates them, right, from the rest of the. It's almost think about the MCU with Iron Man and Tony Stark and Captain America, Steve Rogers, and all that shit, right? And then Andres, and I don't know what you got, Dick Tile, Cyber. just drew these parallels in my head right now, where I'm thinking to myself now, like, so essentially, if you think about it, Superman's kind of like Captain America and Captain America Civil War a little bit. And, like, they even talk about having to sign, like, something that's similar to, like, the Sokovia Accords. To some extent, right? Like, that's really fucking neat. Like, there's that kind of parallel like that.
Yeah, he had that with Lois. Lois brought up something about
Yes, it was.
segment.
It was. No, but I did Cyber. I really enjoyed it. Who voiced Wonder Woman?
Lucy Lawless.
That was Lucy Lawless. Yeah, she did a great job. If anything, I thought that they could have had more Wonder Woman.
Very true. Very true. All right, Kyle, your thoughts, sir, on that sequence?
I think it's a very well done sequence because it shows the differences between Superman and Wonder Woman within this storytelling, where Superman is the all-American Boy Scout. What's funny is that later on, when DC does the Red Sun story, where Superman is raised in Russia, and so this is probably the biggest stark contrast to that, and it's interesting. But here you have this version of Wonder Woman, which I'm sorry, Jeff, not even you would survive being domed by this version of Wonder Woman.
Well, I was gonna say, Wonder Woman doesn't dom dudes like She-Hulk. She's nice.
Oh no! This version, yeah, she would break you.
Oh,
there's no doubt. It is Lucy Lawless. Come on now. But,
okay.
No, and just to seeing Wonder Woman with that little that more of that edge and more of that, you know, doing what she did, where she's like, I didn't take any of them out. I just left the weapons out and let things be what they would be. And, you know, and knowing how much Cal would be against that. And he was, but what is also a great tip off in this moment is they talk about them signing this loyalty to America because of what's going on with the McCarthyism during this time, where of course in our own history, that was movie actors and Hollywood and everything like that. Here it's the superheroes, the mass vigilantes are being the ones facing that McCarthyism. And I think that's an interesting ad. You talked about how political this particular animated film was, and that was a big part of it, was reflecting the history in the political times as well. And I think that scene when they're talking about signing those loyalty letters, it really kind of makes you stop and think. It's like, wow, okay, they're going all out with this particular film, and they're not going to hold back on it.
And just a quick thing. The thing that I like about this, and the look, Darwyn did something so cool. He made Wonder Woman taller than Superman. If you do it's so cool because it just shows how just godlike Wonder Woman is as well. Just to remind you that she's like a demigod. And that's always, I always get a chuckle at that. And I never realized that. It's always fun for me. And she's taller than Superman.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So after Captain Cold is captured by Flash, that's when we jump 2 years into the future with John. And he's working with the Gotham City Police Department. And they end up coming across a cult called the Doomsday Cult, which are worshipers of the Center, as we talked about earlier in the introduction to the film. And so they end up kidnapping a kid to sacrifice to the Center. And John and his partner and Batman end up, finding the place and basically going to town and stopping them from sacrificing the child. And so after that happens, that's when we find out that Hal is training with Colonel Rick Flag. Introduction to another character that's in the DC universe, Rick Flag. And basically he's training under him, for a special space project that we end up finding out. We get to see him. They take him into a room. They show him the spacecraft and basically let him know that they're going to be going to space. And we're going to try to find out, about these Martians and what they're really about. If they're trying to come down and take over our world and stuff like that. And so basically they have Special Agent King Faraday who's overseeing the project, besides Rick Flag being a part of it as well. Then that's when we get kind of a nice little combo between Batman and John. Batman pops up at his apartment as he goes into his apartment, and they have a little bit of a conversation, basically. And, Batman says basically we should work together on this cult, and so we can try to figure out what's going on with them, and basically stop it from trying to do any more sacrifices and stuff like that. So basically, John agrees to it and is like, okay, I'll get you as much information I can, and I'll get it to you. And Batman's like, okay. And so then basically that's when we pop back to the Flash. This is where we get to see Gorilla Grodd for the first time. And Grodd is there. And I love the size they made Grodd in this, because he's so much bigger than I've seen him in any other iteration of Grodd. I feel even in live action form, like on the Flash TV series, I feel that Grodd was more like the size of a normal sized gorilla, like a grayback. And so this was nice to see him be a lot more bigger, a lot huger, and a bigger version of Grodd. So basically, Flash shows up and Grodd's there. He thinks he's going to take on Grodd, and then we end up finding out that he's just a decoy, and the government's trying to capture the Flash. Well, Flash basically phases himself out, and so that he doesn't get captured. And which I thought that was really cool. I love that it showed him doing the phasing. That was really cool. I thought that they did a good job with the animation, that whole sequence. It was just really well done. And so after that, after being attacked, Flash basically, says that he's going to retire. And so I thought that was kind of interesting how he's like, all of a sudden it's like, because he almost got caught, he's like, I'm going to retire. And I'm just like, that doesn't sound like the Flash to me. He would never just retire like that. That's just silly. And so then that's when John goes and interrogates a former Ferris employee, Harry Lederer, and basically he ends up apprehending for the center's influence. And to mention before, when they stopped the cult before, I forgot to mention when the mastermind behind the cult that they capture at the end, he actually gets possessed shortly by the center, and the center talks through him briefly. I forgot to mention that. Just like what happened to Captain Cold, too, when the Flash caught him, he did the same thing. He had a brief moment where he was out of body, and the center talked through him too. So I don't want to forget that. So basically, that ends up happening. John reads the mind of Lederer to find the truth. He ends up finding the truth. Basically, he ends up getting a contemptuous response from Flash's retirement, and then that's when all of a sudden John shows up at Batman's cave. He's like, "How did you find my cave?" He's like, "I have my resources," and that's when he throws down the book and says, "Here's my research for you about the return to Mars and the rocket and everything and what's going on." That's when John decides to go to the launch pad, and we go back to Hal and Rick Flag, and they're getting ready to take off to Mars and everything, and they're going off, and John shows up there, and basically John and that main guy, King Faraday, they basically have like a little fight, and basically, of course, Martian Manhunter John overtakes him, but he doesn't hurt him or anything. He just stops him, and the ship takes off into the atmosphere. And then John basically grabs the Faraday and pops out of there, but then basically from all the fumes passes out. And so we go back up to Hal and Rick Flag in the ship, and they're making their way up. And basically that's when they start having trouble, and they're like going, "Oh, I think we're not going to be able to make this trip, so we need to go back down," Hal says, basically. And so that's when we end up finding there's more of an agenda to it than what they were telling Hal. And we end up finding out there's all kinds of explosives and crap on board. And so that's when Rick and Hal kind of fight a little bit, and basically they end up like fighting and destroying the ship. And basically Hal gets thrown out, and he's in the atmosphere, burning into the atmosphere, and that's when Superman pops up and saves him. So, stopping there, what were you guys' thoughts on that sequence of the film? What were your thoughts? Was there anything you especially maybe thought was interesting? Was there anything maybe you'd like to point out? What was just your overall thoughts on that sequence of the film and how it plays out, and what did you enjoy about it, and just basically what your thoughts were on it. Starting with you, Jeff.
Well, I mean, I like the pairing of characters who they team up throughout, in this section of the film, but then throughout the film in general. I like the pairing of different characters and whatnot. Ripping off of the Wonder Woman Superman vibe and whatnot and everything. Batman and John Jones was dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like their vibe. You know what I mean? Like, they both have like a mysterious kind of shtick to them. You know what I mean? Like, Batman's kind of alien in a way, if you think about it, right? Like, some people view him as almost like a creature. Like, he's not really, like, he's almost not even human to some extent, if I understand correctly. So, like, depending on which Batman we're talking about and what, you understand what I mean. But no, I like the pairing of the different characters, and I like the fact that they expanded the roster of this Justice League film to add like Flag in there and everything and whatnot, and like is it King Faraday and everything and whatnot and all that, like the reporter, what's her name,
Lois.
Not Lois.
Iris West.
Yeah. Characters where like maybe I don't know the name right at the top of my head, but once I hear it, right, like them talking and whatnot, and the name brought up and whatnot and everything, it's something it pops in my head, and I think to myself, oh, okay, I remember that. I know who that is. You know what I mean? Like, there's a familiarity there to some extent that, like, maybe I haven't even like thought about this in like who knows how long. I haven't read a DC comic since like the 90s, right? Or held one in my hands. So like, I mean, honestly, it's been a minute, but I will say though that I always did enjoy the hell out of the DC comics when I did read them back in the day. I did. The Death of Superman comics were fucking awesome. Really well done, really well drawn, and the art was great. And that Doomsday was fucking awesome from the comics. He was the best. There'll never be a version like him in anything, I don't think. But is the Paradise Island scene with Wonder Woman and Mala or whatever whatnot in that too?
Nope.
No. Okay.
No.
No. So I mean, honestly, I wouldn't. Again, and this is just like a personal thing, I guess, right? Everyone has this. I don't have this so much with Marvel, but with DC, I do. I would like to see more Batman. I fucking like Batman. So, like, again, I like Wonder Woman, right? Like, I would have liked to have seen more, like, instead of Rick Flag so much or whatever and whatnot, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like John Jones, he was dope, but give me some more Batman, baby. Like, and, I mean, I would have liked to have seen more action scenes during this part of the film, all together in general, right? Like, because I mean, well, even when we do get them, like you said, like they're short, like the one with Flash, right, where he zaps out and whatnot, and everything. It's over in an instant, right, and that's it. It's done. Like, there's nothing really even happens. There's a lot of suspense, and it is very serious content. The film is very serious. I mean, but I feel like, that, like, this is, like, kid-friendly to some extent. I don't see anything about it. It's PG-13, right? So, I mean, there's no swearing, but no, I like the pairing of the characters. I like John Jones throughout all the scenes that you talked about. I like John Jones because he's a consistent theme. He's like a baseline. Like, he reminds me sort of like the same vibe I get from, what's his name? I'm not going to say the Doctor Strange of DC. Constantine. He reminds me of the same kind of vibe that Constantine brings to like the fabric of like a DC animated film, where he just brings that like mystical part, like that kind of like a very different sort of power set and like a different personality and like energy and like attitude and whatnot. I'm having like flashbacks to Alexis and her dogs at the moment. But anyways, what do you call it? I was editing for the special. I found the episode where she starts barking and right off the bat, I'm like, oh, I guess the fucking dog is moderating the show. Right?
Oh, I thought you meant Alexis was barking.
No, but I found that clip. It's funny as shit. It really is. Like, it goes right to the dog barking. That's how it starts, right off the Marvel logo. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I guess the dog's moderating the show, folks. Fuck. You know, like, it's funny as shit. You laughed your ass off. So, anyways, what a surprise. But no, the pairing of the characters, if they could have stuck the Predator in there and Power Rangers, like in Wakanda Forever, that would have made it for me. Right, in those scenes. If they could have threw the Predator in there real quick, you know, and had the Predator mix it up in there, I would have really dug that. But, the Predator was probably hanging out around there anyway. But, hey, it would make more sense for the Predator to pop up in this than it would have Wakanda Forever.
Nope.
I'm sorry, I can't help myself. Anyways, just like Andre said, Barry, although in this part, like, I mean, you know, he's not like exactly the centerpiece. I like the fact that he's sort of, I guess you could almost kind of say he's almost like sort of like the quasi main character or like the co-main character kind of the film. Like, it's not Superman, right? Even though he does step up and kind of become the leader almost to some extent at one point. But no, I just thought I enjoyed those scenes. I thought that the whole movie was very fluid. And again, this is 2008, so the animation was great. It really was. I mean, obviously it's better now, but like, I mean, this is 2008. If there's an advancement there from like Superman Doomsday, you can see it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, fantastic animation in this, most definitely, 100%. I think that it was solidly beautiful looking, and I thought that the computer animation along with the animation itself worked really well together in this. It didn't feel like the computer overshadowed the actual animation, so that was nice, most definitely. All right,
and Cyber, I made a blunder earlier. It makes sense.
You are a blunder.
The costumes would be minimalized and whatnot and everything. I get it. It's the time period. It makes sense.
Yeah. Great.
I'm sorry, Cyber.
We already established that, Jeff. Okay.
It just occurred to me, man. Come on now. Hey, I'm mentally stunted.
That's no excuse. Anyways, Andres, your thoughts, please.
Sure. What I like about these sequences, and just we have to bring this up, is the villain, the Sentry. I like how this movie and throughout the sequence we're building up to the threat so well.
And he left.
Oh man, that was surprising. I was like, "What happened, man?" I was like, "What happened?" He'll come back.
Anyways, so we'll go to you, Kyle. Your thoughts, please, on that section, please.
Is it safe to talk? Is it safe to talk?
Yes.
No. The thing about this section that made it so great was, if you watch it closely, this is when we start getting a lot of little hints to things too. And it was something actually in rewatching it, because I hadn't seen it in a while. I caught things, but you see Batman for the first time, and I love the fact that they went with the original, for his first appearance in this, they went with the really classic Batman look from back when Bob Kane original Batman type look. I love you seeing John Jones and his detective style look and doing his thing. That's always my favorite version of John Jones, when he's playing the detective. I really think too that one of the most interesting standout moments of this was the moment with the Flash, with them trying to capture them. You just see how much the government had changed in a short period of time, really establishing that it's not exactly safe for the heroes to be out there. And I do think the Flash kind of saying "I'm retiring" is in character for Barry Allen, because the thing about Barry Allen is he's going to protect Iris West to the day with everything he has, and if he thinks it's the best way to protect Iris West, he's going to do that. So I think it very much fit into the character. But like some of the little things that you see is like when John Jones gets into the Batcave, you see that Batman's going through the microfiche, which is great throwback, but he's looking at Dinosaur Island, and that's mentioned earlier on, and things like that. And then as the clues pieces are starting to come together, but everything within this section was yes, it was a little bit slower pace, but it was all pieces putting the puzzle together and creating even that more connective tissue, and just bringing all your elements together and getting to see Batman for the first time in this film. And I think they used Batman just enough in this film, because I think the thing with Batman, especially at this time when this film came out, if you leave him in too long, he dominates everybody else, and the other people don't give it a chance to shine really well. And in here, where our main characters really are Hal Jordan and John Jones for the most part, not having Batman play a major role really gets them a chance to shine. I love everything too that's kind of going on with Hal Jordan here as he's going through the training and things like that. We see just kind of Rick Flag always with a stick up his ass no matter where he appears. And the scene where they take off to go to Mars, and we find out again, tying in with what happened with the Flash, the secret agenda of the U.S. government. They're loaded with weapons, and not even Ferris knows that. And I think that again, that's one of the things that they do so well, and Darwyn Cooke did good with the story, and with when they animated in the movie, was working in those themes without hitting you over the head with them. It just, if you know your history, and I know a lot of people who watched this or read the graphic novel who went back and researched some more of that time in history. So it's handled so well in this that when you have people who want to research more, so they understand some of the stuff that went on in this, it shows what credit of how good the movie is, how good the miniseries was, and just what they did here. And it's phenomenal. And like I said, this whole section is just one great big, just world building piece that works so well.
Awesome, thank you. Jeff, you had something you like to bounce off of what Kyle said.
I just wanted to say Kyle made a great point there with Batman. That it made sense. It made sense to minimize the exposure of him in the film and kind of just have him have more of a subdued role. Because if anything, all Kyle's points made perfectly logical sense to me. In terms of how it affects the other characters, but also if you think about it too, Kyle, they're thinking probably far down the road too, right? About what they want to do with Batman, and they're like, you know what? We don't want to waste him in this project. Why not use him kind of in more of a sideline position?
Well, and what there's a scene that we'll talk about coming up later, but it involved what happened with the scene with Batman and John Jones when they saved the young kid from the cult, and how the kid reacts to Batman. And they address that later on, and I know we'll get to that scene here momentarily. But yeah, it's a key. I think the key thing in this for Batman is you see an evolving of Batman within this movie that you normally don't necessarily always see in a Batman film. So I think that makes it even more intriguing.
Yeah, I agree. Also, just a reminder. I mean, this came out the same year when Dark Knight happened. So I don't. This is before Warner Bros. Really hit hard. It's just Batman, everything. So this just had the luxury of being based on a graphic novel, and it's like, look, the whole entire DC characters is the main shine. It's not Batman. It's the only character to shine. It's every character.
All right, thank you. And go ahead and finish what you were saying before, Andre, about that section. Tell us what you thought about that section before. Unfortunately, you had technical difficulties.
Yes, before I have any more of those. Oh my god. I want to bring up the build up of the villain, the Sentry. Like, this sequence does a really good job of building up the threat so well with the mind control villain of the cult. And then the scientists, because it really gets the sense of the Sentry is a really threat. And that's what I like about the rewatch I had yesterday. Because sometimes we just do not do a good job of building up our villains in any of the movies or, But I really appreciate that this did such a good job of building up the threat of the center, like the center for our main heroes,
Awesome, thank you. All right. So after that happens, that's when we go back to Wonder Woman, and she's training with Mala in Paradise Island. While they're doing that, that's when the center shows up and attacks. As a result of the explosion that Rick Flag caused on the ship, that actually wounds the original Green Lantern called Abin Sur, who crash lands onto Earth. that's where, after Hal gets back down, after Superman brings him back, he comes across ACER, and that's when he finally gets the Green Lantern powers. And so like I said before, I was really surprised it took this long to get, Green Lantern to have his powers in this film. But yet it was kind of like, at the same time, I felt it was kind of like an origin story almost for Hal Jordan, because we really hadn't seen too many animated films with the Green Lantern, prior to this. I mean, except for the comics and so forth. So I think they were trying to take their liberties and kind of give Hal Jordan his like proper, fully animated kind of origin story, I felt. So, I still thought it was well done. Yes, Kyle.
It's an interesting point, because when you look at the time frame, this is when Jeff Johns is really starting to hit his stride on with Ethan Van Sciver on Green Lantern, wherever you get Hal Jordan coming back, Green Lantern Rebirth is coming out. We're kind of starting to lead into the different colors. So this is at a point where Green Lantern is really growing in popularity in the DC comics. So I think it was kind of a point to make Hal, and I think Hal Jordan is probably maybe the most relatable of most of the human characters in this. And I found it interesting that even when he does get the ring, we still don't see him use the power of the ring right away. And it's a great build up to what they're doing in there. So I just want to bring this up because, again, this is a reflection of the times of Green Lantern really starting to hit its apex with popularity in the comics as well. So
yeah, because not this year, but 2009. For the next DC animation movies, Wonder Woman and Green Lantern get their solo animation films in 2009. So they were really building up to Green Lantern's potential before the live action movie. And just quick fan note. Hal's getting his powers is actually a lot earlier in the graphic novel than in this movie. But I actually appreciate this way because you're engaged of Hal going through his arc and then him because he's basically the next generation of superhero, because he's like the midpoint of the golden age and the silver age, because that's what him and Barry Allen were, because they were like the new generation of superheroes when the silver age started.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so as Hal gets the ring, ACER tells him that the Center is coming, and which is a monstrous creature that's seeking to destroy the humans. As we had mentioned in the prologue at the beginning of the film, the Center said that they wanted to destroy humans. So that's kind of now come full circle. Meanwhile, that's when Batman and Superman go review the information that John has gotten them about the cult and the Center. And while they're researching that, that's when all of a sudden they notice Wonder Woman's invisible jet coming, and it crashes, and it's got blood all over and stuff like that. And basically, Wonder Woman warns them that the Center is coming. So that's when, basically, after this happens, it renews John's faith in humanity, and he wants to help save the Earth. So that kind of, I think, is kind of a great little segue point there into this film when John finally officially becomes like a part of the Justice League. And I think that it was a great way of doing that is, by, how they presented it in the film. And I thought they did it a really well and nice way. I thought it was really fun. And I was glad to finally see the Martian Manhunter really finally get into it and become a part of the team, because like Jeff said earlier, I think he's one of my favorite characters in the whole entire film. I absolutely have always loved the Martian Manhunter. He's always been a favorite character of mine throughout any TV iteration, movie iteration, stuff like that. He's always been a great character, and he's always usually played by a great actor. Bill Morris is fantastic as the Martian Manhunter. He has been in the TV series I've seen him in and so forth. He's been great, and I've always enjoyed him. Even his iteration of Smallville, his iteration of Supergirl, all were really fantastically done, I thought. So I think he's always been a great character, too, because he's kind of one of those characters that has abilities, but at the same time, he only uses abilities when he needs to use them. He actually uses his intelligence before he does anything else, and I really, really like that.
Yeah, and that's what I like about Superman, how he was talking to Farrell early on, say, like, look, he's not doing anything wrong. Like, he's not even breaking out. Like, he's actually doing the most logical thing. Is like he's trying to be peaceful and not trying to scare the humans. You know, that's what I like about John, his character.
Excellent. All right, so this is when we finally get our first image of the center, which is a massive moving planet, basically, and that's when we see that there's all these kind of like an army of mutant dinosaurs all over it and kind of coming in and out of the planet. And that's when they begin their attack on America. That's when the Flash, Green Arrow, Adam Strange, the Challengers Unknown, Blackhawks join forces, basically with the U.S. to defend the Cape, basically. And that's when Superman decides to basically go and kill the center himself because he's Superman. That's what he does. That he saves the day. And so when he goes to do that, basically he ends up kind of disappearing at some point, and they don't know what happens to him. Unfortunately, at that point, that's when it kind of moves the rest of the people to put more of an effort up to basically save the day. So as that happens, they all try to basically bomb the creatures, destroy them, and all this kind of stuff. We see Hal and Ace. They're trying to do that. Then all of a sudden the Flash tries to basically do something to stop the center. He gets equipped with Ray Palmer's reduction ray, or another introduction to another DC character. And basically he crisscrosses the island hoping to destabilize the island's atomic structure. That unfortunately does not work. Then an aerial assault is nearly outmatched by the herd of the mutant dinosaurs, which basically ends up ambushing Farad's ground forces. Then the center's physic force briefly overwhelms John because of its vibrations and stuff like that, because the Martian Manhunter uses telepathy and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's when Faraday is captured by a dinosaur, and both perish after Faraday sets off a hand grenade. So more death and more sacrifice, which is really awesome. Reminds me of the Savage Land.
That's so true.
Savage Land, okay.
Yeah. We're gonna get the Savage Land in the MCU, I think, in the next couple of years.
Oh yeah, awesome. Definitely.
Yeah. When we get the X-Men, we'll get the Savage Land.
Awesome. So then that's when Hal and Ace shoot their way into the center's core, but a hallucinogenic attack disorients them. So some sort of hallucinogens make them go crazy. Then Hal's ring relays instructions from the Guardians of the Universe on him how to use it. That's when Ace detonates his payload as Hal rescues him. Then the Flash races across the ocean, leaps onto the center's surface, and covers it on foot, shrinking the island. Then Hal envelopes the island in green energy, towing into space where it explodes.
Yeah.
And then after they have destroyed the center, that's when they all celebrate. They have their victory. Then that's when we get our introduction to Aquaman real briefly, because he's carrying Superman. We finally found out what happened to Superman.
Yo, fucking got him.
Probably. Then the world celebrates the center's defeat with a ceremony, and then the film ends with a montage of various heroes and villains, including the Justice League and a titular John F. Kennedy speech. The end of the film, people. All right, so what is your thoughts on the last portion of this film, guys? What was your thoughts? What did you like about it? Was there any cool little factoids you'd like to share about it? Just what is your overall thoughts on that last section of the film? Did you think it was well done? I personally think it was very well done. I thought this was a really fantastic animated film. I do believe I've watched this one other time before. It's been a while since I watched it, a couple of years at least. So I finally rewatching it really reinvigorated my love for the DC animated films, just like Doomsday did. And I really enjoyed this. I really thought it was really well done, really classic. I loved all the looks of the characters. I loved the animation, and overall I just thought it was a really fantastic animated film. All right, so starting with you, Jack, what were your thoughts on the final part of this film?
It was almost like the inspiration I had coming off of watching Wakanda Forever, where I wanted to watch the Predator trilogy, like right afterwards. You know what I'm saying? I came home and I had to watch the Predator immediately. But no, you know, I apologize, guys. I'm sorry. I have the giggles. But anyways, no. Every time I think I'm freaking the Predator and Wakanda Forever, it just trips me out. But no. I think that well, for one thing, how the fuck do you explain the center to the populace? Like, how do you sell that? You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, how do you? What do you just say? That's the commies? Like, how do you explain to society or like the populace about the center? Like, it's like basically like a version of like Ego the Living Planet, or like in a way almost. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, along with like some kind of like psychotic fucking ability to like, you know, be able to influence people's minds and shit and whatnot, like a telekinesis, not telekinesis,
telepathic.
Telepathic, yeah, like a form of telepathy, but also like a hive mind thing too. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's also like a cult thing. Like he had all kinds of the center's got all kinds of shit going on, right? Like, you know, in terms of like, honestly, if you think about it, Kyle, it's more than just telepathy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's got energy manipulation.
Oh yeah,
transmutation, all kinds of things going on. I think that the interesting thing about the center.
No, he also cast like actual like affect like the vibe of like an actual group of people, like
through the telepathy. Yeah.
No. So he's very like it's a he, right?
It's an it.
It's an it. I mean,
yeah.
No, so I'm just thinking to myself, like, probably only back in the 50s would you be able to like explain that away to like the populace without like the internet and shit and whatnot and cell phones and all that shit. Like nowadays, or whatever, the center would be on fucking TikTok by now, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the center would have his own YouTube channel and shit already, right? So no, but no, I mean, I don't know, like. The only gripe I would probably have, if I had to have one gripe, I guess would just be that the center was complicated for an animated film, for an animated villain, right? The center was sort of like I'd never heard of the center until this movie, so I was like, okay, the center, all right, okay, I'm getting it. Then I started to deal with again all the different powers and abilities it has and everything and whatnot and everything, what sort of force it is. Where it's even coming from, right? Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I mean, now, if I understand this correctly, Kyle, and you know, and Andres, isn't this this is the Justice Society in the beginning?
This is a catch. Because at the beginning of the film, when you have that scene with Superman and Wonder Woman, they talk about all the other members of the Justice Society had retired. Our man had died.
Yeah.
So we were kind of in a transition phase going from the Justice Society, which Superman and Wonder Woman sound like they were members of within this, but to the birth of the JLA.
Yeah, it's basically this movie is the origin of Justice League 2. You know, it's not only Green Lantern. It's the origin story for the 60s version of Justice League.
Oh, well, you know what? It just so happens that I'm probably going to get to watch Justice League 2 since I'm sure we're going to review it here pretty soon. You know, hopefully. Unless She-Hulk gets a hold of me and I get caged up for a while. You never know. Could happen. But anyways, no, but Kyle, you know, honestly, between me and you, I saw Black Adam again since the last time I saw you. Mm-hmm. We should get together sometime. I have a lot to say about the Justice Society and fucking Pierce Brosnan and his
the Justice Society is some of the greatest characters in the DC universe, and that's a whole other podcast.
That actor that played Hawkman was fucking excellent.
Oh yeah,
that's all I can say.
Aldous Hodge is a great actor.
They wasted. If they don't bring those characters back in Gunn's DCU, they're fucking stupid. Seriously, yeah. I don't care if they killed, if they already killed fucking Pierce Brosnan off. He's a comic book character. Bring him back. Who cares? Yeah. Anyways, but bottom line, no. I like the fact that they all came together at the end. I didn't understand the Aquaman thing at the end, kind of like having the different name and shit. And he looked a little bit different. But he was Aquaman. Don't get me wrong. Aquaman's Aquaman. That was dope. I thought that the whole Wonder Woman deal where she almost got like savage, it like was all bloody and shit and whatnot and everything, and like she came from like trying to fight the center, that shit was intense. Again, like, you know, like to Kyle's point and whatnot and everything, and you know, Andre's point, Cyber's point, this is pretty graphic shit. When you think about it, like, what I'm saying? There's blood in it, right? Like, again, Disney's like big taboo, right? But they got it from jump and at the end. There's blood, right? So no, I mean, it was again, just like Superman Doomsday, really, really well put together film altogether, like really fluid. It's good from the beginning to the end. There's no lulls in it or anything like that and whatnot. There's so much character interaction and scene jumping and whatnot that you can't get bored, right? Like, I mean, there are all these characters to fucking, like, listen to and be entertained by and whatnot, right? And all these wonderful voice actors. I mean, look at this all-star fucking cast of voice actors you've got. This shit is, like, star-studded. From what I understand of voice acting, this is fucking like a Hall of Fame type shit here. Like, I don't know what the fuck, I don't know if they gave them crack as part of their contract or something to, like, get them on. This is like some Kevin Feige shit to be able to pull down some fucking talent like that for a freaking animated film like that, I think. But again, I don't know that. I don't know. Like, I mean, I see here that this movie did $5 million in the box office. So this actually came out in theaters.
It had a limited run.
Now, that's important because this was the first one that did, because Superman Doomsday was straight to DVD, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing with this particular film is, one, the New Frontier miniseries was so universally loved, and it actually was one of the reasons why they were able to pull some of the cast they did, because a lot of the people who did voice work were comic fans, and they loved Darwyn Cooke, and they loved this, and getting the opportunity on this, and this movie really established that DC was willing to push the envelope with their animated and try different things with animated, and not just follow the continuing formula of a Batman the Animated Series or Superman the Animated Series, that they were willing to try different things. And we've seen that over the years now with DC Animated. Yes, there's been some things that have fallen just in kind of the general vague category, but they've done a lot of things that have been different too with their animated things.
Yeah, so just to clarify that, when these DC animated films get put out onto direct-to-DVD, they actually will consider their sales as box office. This did not get a theatrical run at all.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it had like a Fathom event thing or something like that.
Okay.
No, this did not. There have been some that have, Kyle, but this one did not. But majority of them, when you see a box office under Wikipedia or on IMDb, it's just the sales that it's generated from its sales when it got released back, whenever it was released onto home media, is what that range of price or money is that it made. Just FYI for you guys.
I'm looking for the. I'm trying to find the budget right now.
I think I saw. I have it here. I think it's 75. I think it's a. Oh no! Yeah, they don't. They're very they don't release the budget for these animation movies. They just tell you about the running time or the box office of the sales of the DVD.
I got it right here. 3.5 million. Estimated.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was bigger than Doomsday's budget. I saw the podcast, and yeah, it sounds much bigger than what Doomsday had, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'd have to imagine that 5.7 million is probably old. I'm sure they made more money off of it since then.
Oh yeah, inflation. Inflation.
Yeah. Most definitely.
The animation's not cheap. You know that, Cyber.
No, it's not. Especially because they use computer animation in it as well, besides just the traditional animation. So yeah, it was around that time when that really started becoming kind of copacetic with each other in animated films, as they started using the CGI a lot more. So
and
but anyways,
series as well. They start doing that.
Yeah, very much so. All right, Kyle, your thoughts on that final part of the movie, sir?
I think, one, first of all, to see some of the characters and some of the more obscure type DC characters that they use, like the Blackhawks, like the Challengers of the Unknown, Adam Strange, seeing the old classic version of Green Arrow, which fits that time frame so well. I wasn't surprised, when Aquaman shows up at the very end, and that made complete sense to me. because they just hadn't included him, and so when he pops up at the end, I was like, yep, that makes sense.
They would have been too overpowering on their end if he would have popped up too sooner, right?
Well, and plus it's Aquaman, and yeah, it's just it is what it is, but it fits perfectly. I mean, you have Ray Palmer in there, not really the Atom yet, but to have him included, the solutions that they come up with, taking Superman out of the mix of this final battle, and then we really get where we see John with Faraday getting killed, but John really struggling with things, but Faraday's death kind of pushing him to really jump into the battle then, and then everything with Hal Jordan, where Hal Jordan becomes the key to defeating the Center, having the willpower to conquer the Center and help with his destruction. It's so beautifully done, and the movie overall as a whole is just such a amazing tribute to what the source material that it came from. And I think overall, to this day, Justice League the New Frontier animated is still one of the best animated films DC has ever put out.
Excellent. Awesome. Andreas, same question, sir. Your thoughts on the end of the film, sir?
Sure. I can't believe we haven't mentioned the Superman speech when the soldiers versus the costume superheroes, and him using his super clap against them and just giving such a great speech about how we should unite and like stop the bigger threat. It's one of my favorite Superman speeches. Like I'm not a big Superman fan, but when you get Superman right, this movie does it, and I love his speech here. And yeah, this is like Avengers level, like best battle of a superhero team, like I see since the first Avengers. I love this final battle. It's like
I don't know about that. I've never seen any chicks orgasm spontaneously and shit during trailers and whatnot from the New Frontier, like they did with Endgame or Infinity War.
Well, I'm not gonna answer that because I think you're watching.
It's just that early Jurassic Park cloning technology. That's all it is.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I mean, hey, I'll just symbolize. This is better than Jurassic Park. So this is the best finale ever of Jurassic Park. But yeah, and then the Aquaman thing, like, yeah, I agree with you, Kyle. It was like so predictable. It was fun. You know what was funny? He's voiced by the same actor from Smallville who played Aquaman there. So it's sort of funny that they did that. So that's cool. I mean, I grew up watching Smallville, so it's kind of cool.
Well, yeah, I'll give you a funny one. That same actor is the same actor who plays Hawk in Titans and is also now the new Jack Reacher.
Yeah, I agree. He could be a great older Aquaman now if they do that. Yeah.
Oh, he's a new Jack Reacher?
Yeah.
What are they gonna do? A TV show or something?
They have.
It's on Amazon.
Oh, fuck that! Oh, I'm sorry. I'm tripping. My bad. I forgot. I'm sorry.
Aren't you tripping?
No, I'm not. I don't take. Look, after my TBI, are you kidding me? I'm not. I'm sorry, Cyber, but I don't think it's probably a good idea for TBI survivor to take LSD or anything like that kind of stuff. No, probably not a good thing.
It's just a natural thing for him.
No. Yeah. No, I take plenty of LSD. Don't get me wrong, but that was a long time ago.
So let me guess. You're like David from Legion. You're David Heller from the X-Men universe, and you're actually a mutant right now, and you're having these like psychic abilities right now, and you're displaying it, and so you're having these weird LSD moments, Jeff.
I've experienced that. Yeah, I have. Some stuff like that. I have. One time I was tripping on LSD, and I was watching my friends around me, and they were like turning into different animals and shit and whatnot. And like my friend Big Jake started to turn into a walrus, and he grew tusks out of his face and shit and whatnot, and became a walrus. Mm-hmm. My one friend, fucking Burdick, was passed out on the couch. We gave him LSD to sleep. He woke up fucking tripping face.
Are we sure this wasn't a Kevin Smith movie?
No, literally, he was a deep sleeper. and shit and whatnot and everything. He was fucked up. We just opened his mouth and we were like, Bird, take this. And we stuck a couple of fucking hits of acid in his mouth and shit and whatnot. It was hilarious.
Sounds like something you guys would do.
Another time, he tripped for like 3 days straight, and he was out in the woods by himself for like a whole fucking day. Tripped on it. It was fucking crazy. I'm telling you.
So this is Midsummer. Oh my god, I don't know if you've seen those horror
It was
movies.
actually during the midsummer that happened, actually. It was right around graduation party time in upstate New York. That's when it happened, actually. When he was in the woods. Yeah. He came from the woods to a graduation party I was at with a blanket around him.
Jeff, let's let Andreas finish his thoughts so we can move on, sir.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Anyway, this is so just wrapping up. I mean, this is my favorite DC animation movie. It's top 3. I mean, this movie does everything right. It does justice to Darwyn Cooke's vision. I mean, as Cyberneticshark has said before, you know, he was involved with the project as well, you know, giving a lot of the initial, you know, more additional writing material for them to go on, or, you know, to cut that maybe was not unnecessary. But yeah, I love this. I love superhero time period projects. Like, that's why I love, like, just quickly, like, my number 1 favorite superhero movie of all time is X-Men Days of Future Past, because I love it. It's a great time period superhero thing. I love it. And this is like up there at their X-Men First Class, Wonder Woman, you know, the first one, and yeah, X-Men Days of Future Past. I just love it. And I'm just so sad that Darwyn Cooke is not longer with us. Like, we need more of this for DC than New 52 and, you know, what's been going on. Like, we need more Darwyn Cooke inspiration. And that's all I have to say. So.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so perfect, guys. So to round this out, let's give our ratings for this 1 through 10. What would you give this film as a rating? Starting with you, Andreas.
Sure. This is a easily 10 out of 10. I mean, it's the perfect adaptation of a graphic novel. Like, it's up there. So I love it. It does everything justice. So, and the voice cast is amazing. It's like Oscar worthy. Like, it's an epic superhero movie. So, it's amazing. It's 10 out of 10 for me.
Awesome. Kyle.
I'm gonna have to give it a 10 out of 10 too. This, to me, again, this is one of my all-time favorite DC animated films, and I think it's actually one of the ones that you could show somebody who maybe is not a big animation fan, and they'd still appreciate what was done with it with this project, especially how the retro aspect of it. And I think that's something that's very much a standout piece of this. But DC just handled this right. I think if I was to give it any kind of knock, it's only got a runtime of 1 hour and 14 minutes. I would have liked to have seen them maybe bump this up to about not a full 90 minutes and been able to flesh out a couple more things, maybe get a little bit more screen time with Batman, this version of Batman, or flesh out even a couple more of the heroes we see pop up throughout this movie. But otherwise, yeah, this is a 10 out of 10.
Awesome, thank you, Jeff.
That's all it is. 1 hour 14 minutes. That's
yes.
Really?
Yeah. It's very quick.
And I want to paraphrase this and everything and whatnot out of respect for everybody here on the panel that is like a more of a bigger DC fan than I am and whatnot, and knows more about these characters and whatnot. I just want to put out there that I don't have the background that even Cyber knows more about some of the DC characters than I do. So at that point, I got to be really like careful here because I mean, shit. I haven't watched all these animated DC films like all you guys have. I don't know what I'm going to get into here. Like, I saw fucking, the first one I ever saw was, what do you call it? Apocalypse War or whatever. Justice League Apocalypse War or whatever. That shit blew my mind. I was like, holy fuck, this is good. You know?
So the rating just reflects this film, sir. Not all the ones we've watched. So just your reflection on this.
Well, I'd say I give it a solid, probably like a 9 or a 9.25. Or 9.15 just for you, Cyber. Or 9.17. You know, whatever you want. Whichever one you want, baby. I'll give you whatever. I'll give you a little
Well,
bit.
oh, that's so wonderful, Jeff. Thank you.
I'll give you.
I love that. I love the 1.5. Sir.
Yeah,
It's
baby.
So
I know.
fantastic.
I know that. Hey, you know what? That extra 0.25 could be a big difference.
You know it. It's a huge difference. Well, I would give it a solid 10 out of 10 as well. I thought it was really well done. The animation was amazing. And I can't get over the voice cast. The voice cast is what made it a 10 out of 10 for me, simply for the fact of all the great people they got to do the voiceovers in this. I know a lot of people really enjoyed Kevin Conroy as Batman because he did the animated series. He did a lot of the other voiceovers and stuff like that. Fortunately, he passed away last year. I know a lot of people like him, but I think Jeremy Sisto did a really fantastic job as Batman as well. I think there's been several other voice talents that have done a really good job as Batman as well. So
Bruce Greenwood.
Yes.
Yep, Bruce Greenwood.
Bruce
Yep.
Greenwood, yes. Oh god,
So,
I
I
was
mean-
so happy he was in Young Justice. He was great in Young Justice too.
Yeah, so I think that the voice cast alone makes it a solid 10 for 10 for me. I won't give you 10.25. I won't give you a 9.75 like Jeffrey. But,
Oh boy.
anyways, people, yeah, that's great. I hope he did, especially if he got that. But yeah, solid 10 out of 10. All right, so that's end of this section of this wonderful film. I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Giggle McGiggles over here, and he's going to talk about James Gunn and the DC. So thank you for having me as the moderator of this pod, folks.
That's a new type of subtle adult themed humor that I want to work with. Instead of actually saying crazy, grimy shit, I'm just gonna show words, just of it and whatnot. So there's no, you know what I'm saying? So it's not as intense. But anyways, Andres, brother, listen, man, you gotta understand something. The MCU's bleeding edge title isn't just some random shit or whatever that popped out of nowhere and whatnot. It means something, bruh. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, really? So
it always has, yes.
Oh, okay.
It was always meant to be about a different style of covering Marvel and fandom shit and whatnot. That was the point.
Oh,
right?
I see.
Because I'm a fucking bleeding edge type motherfucker, bro. It's that simple.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? I'm the only dude you know who's got on my bucket list. I have having a threesome in the multiverse as on my bucket list. I want 3 different chicks from the multiverse in my threesome.
Oh my god!
But they're all She-Hulk.
Yeah, She-Hulk.
No, not She-Hulk. What's her name? The MVP, my Monica Rambeau Award winner from She-Hulk. What's her name? Fuck.
Titania?
No. Wong's buddy.
Madeline with a Y.
Yes.
Oh
yes, her.
Madison.
Madison. I could take 3 of Madison. I could do 3 of her. Fucking A. Hell yeah, she's cute. She's cute.
See,
I hope Wong hit that.
Jeff, no offense, I'll take Titania over that lady.
What? Are you kidding me? Titania over her? Oh man.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. I don't know. I think Titania kind of got fucked over in that series. She ended up looking like an asshole. Either way, so I mean, basically, look, I'm just gonna ask you guys 2 questions. And y'all are gonna just talk because there's nothing really to I mean, I got an article right here. I'm gonna pull up right here, and I mean, they didn't say much really when it boils down to it in terms of Gunn and and Safran. But just I guess to
They
kind
said a
of
lot.
Did you not watch the video?
I did, and you know what? I'm afraid to play the whole video on the show. I'm afraid of the copyright, so I don't know if I should play it.
Yeah. Well, no, we can. I think everybody's gotten the gist of it. But yeah, this is big.
No.
We've been waiting for this.
Let me rephrase that. In the article itself, they don't have as much of the depth. That's all I'm saying, right? Is that it's kind of streamlined in the article, right? Which is why I picked it. It just basically gives you the highlights, right? So let's cut right to the bullshit. If you're a fan of the MCU's Bleeding Edge, typically, at the end of the day, you typically fuck with this fandom shit just like we do. So you know what's going down with Gunn and whatnot. This isn't new information to you. If it is, you probably should go check out a Power Rangers, review, or something. But either way, so like it says in the article, essentially the pair have been busy. The 3 months is taking over after the whole Discovery, Warner Brothers pact came through and whatnot and everything. What they've come up with, I guess, through the writers' room, is a overarching story unifying the DC universe, along the lines of something being billed as Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, which I think is a great title. I do. And I think that essentially, I've looked at this. I've seen the Gunn video, and I can probably play a little bit of it. But basically, and I thought he did great too. But basically, long story short, I'm not gonna read all this, peripheral stuff. But one of our strategies is to take our diamond characters, which is Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and we use them to prop up other characters that people don't know, explained Gunn. And Safran to build those lesser-known properties into the diamond properties of tomorrow, which sounds very Kevin Feige MCU-esque. While plans may yet shift, caution the duo. Here's the initial slate of projects for Chapter 1 in the order they're planned to appear. Creature Commandos, a 7-episode animated series written by Gunn that is already in production, originally a team of classic monsters assembled to fight Nazis. This is a modern take on the concept. The voice actors have yet to be cast, but the executives are looking to find people who can voice the animated characters and also portray the live-action versions when the anti-heroes show up in the movies and series. Wow, that's actually really interesting. Wow, that's massive. Waller, which I think this is a given, right? I don't see how anybody would be surprised by this. In a spin-off of Gunn's own HBO Max series, Peacemaker, Viola Davis will return as the ruthless and morally ambiguous head of the government task force. Is being written by Crystal Henry, Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, the creator of Doom Patrol TV series. Superman Legacy, the new Superman, the movie featuring the Man of Steel that Gunn is writing and may direct, although no commitments on that end have been made. While the two previous titles are meant to be aperitifs, in Safran's words, Superman is the true kickoff for the duo's DCU plans. It's not an origin story, Safran said. It focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way. He is kindness in a world that thinks that kindness is old-fashioned. A release date of July 11th, 2025 has been penciled in. 2025 is going to be a big year for DC. Lanterns. I'm stoked for this. Greg Berlanti's long-in-the-works Green Lanterns TV series has been scrapped. And Gunn and Safran have parted ways with the longtime DC series steward. In its place will be a new take on the space cops with power rings. Our vision for this is very much in the vein of True Detective. I like that. Safran described it's terrestrial-based. It will feature prominent Lantern heroes Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. It's one of the most important shows they have in development. This plays a really big role in leading into the main story we are telling across film and TV. The Authority. I like this a lot too. This reminds me of the Thunderbolts. A movie based on a team of superheroes with rather extreme methods of protecting the planet that first originated in the late 1990s under an influential imprint known as Wildstorm, run by artist and now the head of DC Publishing, Jim Lee. One of the things in the DCU is that it's not just a story of heroes and villains, said Gunn. Not every film and TV show is going to be about good guy versus bad guy. Giant things from the sky come and a good guy wins. There are white hats, black hats, and gray hats, added Safran. They are kind of like Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. They know that you want them on the wall, or at least they believe that. I like that. Paradise Lost, the duo described as HBO Max series, is a Game of Thrones style drama set on the all-female island that is Wonder Woman's birthplace. Them Isira. How do you pronounce that, guys? Them Isira?
Yeah, the theme.
Okay.
Yeah.
Filled with political intrigue and scheming between power players. It takes place before the events of Wonder Woman films. The Brave and the Bold. Intro of the DCU Batman, said Gunn, of Bruce Wayne, and also introduces our favorite Robin, Damian Wayne, who's a little son of a bitch. The movie will take inspiration from the now classic Batman run written by Grant Morrison, that introed Batman to a son he never knew existed, a murderous tween raised by assassins. It's a very strange father and son story. And importantly, it will feature a Batman not played by Robert Pattinson. However, there's also the Batman sequel. Pattinson will continue to portray the Dark Knight in at least one more crime saga movie directed by Matt Reeves. That movie, the executive reel, will be released October 3rd, 2025. It is being titled The Batman Part 2. And he says right here, 2025 is going to be a very big year for DC. Crowd Saffron. Superman and Batman within the same year. Wow, that is big. Booster Gold, an HBO Max series based on a unique, lesser-known hero created in 1986. Saffron said the series is about a loser from the future who uses basic future technology to come back to today and pretend to be a superhero. Gunn described it as imposter syndrome as superhero. Supergirl, Swamp Thing, and let's see. To come up with the overall direction of the slate, go to some writers, and that's it. So it's Swamp Thing and Supergirl, a horror film that promises to close out the first part of the first chapter. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Taking his cues from the recent Tom King written miniseries, the movie promised, so will be a movie then. We'll see the differences between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents for the time he was an infant, versus Supergirl, raised on a rock. A chip off of Krypton, smoking rock, and who watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life, and then come to Earth. She's much more hardcore and not the Supergirl we're used to. Okay, so like a goth Supergirl. Alright. I can dig that. So, that's a lot of shit. Holy fuck. Cyber. Just talk. What the fuck? I mean, whatever you want to say, man. No question.
What the fuck is this? Jesus fucking
Holy
Christ.
shit.
You're supposed to have
Look at all that
structure.
Look at all that shit. Are you kidding me? Just pick and choose, baby. Pick wherever you want. Have at it. There's only 17 fucking things you can talk about.
All right, so just a brief overlay of everything that they talked about in the thing. The few that I'm very much interested in are the ones I really weren't aware of, like the Commandos. The lantern idea is a really great one. I'm not too thrilled that they're going with Superman Legacy and the Supergirl thing, because I feel that those are kind of played out, and at the same time, I'm still kind of upset that they're not bringing Henry Cavill back. I'm sorry. Him to me is going to be Superman forever. Besides Christopher Reeve, Superman always to me. And so them to go back and like kind of play on him having to balance his Kryptonian and human heritage, I just think it's a waste of a Superman movie. Honestly, I just didn't care for that thought process. But the other stuff that was very obscure, I'm glad that they're trying to go back into Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is a great character, especially with the re-entry into Werewolf by Night showing Man-Thing. I think that was a big spark to reinvent Swamp Thing himself, bring him back, because Man-Thing was such a huge hit for Marvel when Werewolf by Night came out last October, or November. And so I think that's a clever idea. I absolutely love the 1982 film. I think it was fantastically done with Ray Wise, Adrian Barbeau, directed by Wes Craven. I think it's a really fantastic film that didn't get a really good proper sequel, unlike Return of the Swamp Thing that came out, I think it was the early 90s, late 80s, when they did the sequel with Heather Locklear, and it was okay.
It came out in 1989.
What network was that on? What network was it on?
It wasn't. That was a movie, but there was a Swamp Thing show in syndication on the USA Network.
USA Network. That's what it was.
Late 80s, early 90s as well.
Yeah. I watched it.
And then they tried to revamp it on the CW, or a couple years ago they tried doing one. They did one season for HBO, and it supposedly did horrible. But everyone that I heard about it or talked about it said it was fantastic.
It was actually way better than what the critics thought. I think that they realized that they didn't want to make the financial commitment to it, and that's kind of why they tanked it more than anything.
Probably. That sounds about right. But yeah, Swamp Thing is a great character. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the Guardians, what they do, or not the Guardians, the Authority, what they do with that, what they do with the Lanterns, stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to those things. And overall, I mean, what they're trying to do, there's some goodness to it, and then there's some I feel that just is dumb, and they should have stuck with the DC universe we're already in. Because I mean, this year we're getting all those films that are still a part of that original DC universe, with the Flash, with Shazam 2, with Aquaman 2, and with Blue Beetle, which is a new character that they are introducing, which will be interesting to see. I'm really looking forward to seeing that character. I really like Xolo, however you say his last name.
From Cobra Kai.
From Cobra Kai, yeah. I'm really interested to see what he does, what he brings to the table as that character. I think he was a good choice because I absolutely love him as Miguel in Cobra Kai. And so I'm looking forward to that, seeing this new iteration of another hero we have not seen anything from yet, live action wise anyways. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I think that the direction they're going in is kind of smart, but at the same time, I feel there's still some things they need to really work out and get the kinks. And I think that the whole, like, him throwing Kevin Feige under bus at Marvel just because, Phase 4 was such a crap show. I get it. I get throwing it on the bus for that. But anything prior to that, up to Endgame, was perfection. So I don't get how he would think that, even though I'm sure this is payback because he got fired there for a moment. But at the same time, still, I mean, DC still has a long way to get to the level of Marvel up to Endgame. So, they have a lot of work to do. So he shouldn't be flipping the page or the script to say that he's going to be a lot better than them until he actually works to it. So those are the things I took from it, what I thought about it. And overall, I think that, like I said, there's some good and there's some bad to it.
If Jesus Christ came down and became Kevin Feige and did Phase 4, there still would have been something fucked up with it. Right? Like, no matter what, it wouldn't have mattered. After Endgame, like, seriously. Like, Jesus Christ still would have been a problem with something, right? So let's just be real here. Like, there's no way you can't fucking... It's the immovable object. You can't come off Endgame and not have your fans end up being somebody a part of it, at least be like, fuck. You know what I'm saying? After, like, you get that, and then you get that afterwards. It's that simple, Kyle. We've covered this. And I think it's important to bring it up sometimes, though. Still, it is. To remind people, like, hey, I think it's one of those tropes where it doesn't hurt to bring it up sometimes. And no, Cyber, listen, there's no point in me having a structure. I read that article, and I watched that video that Gunn did. I knew we'd only have so much time to work with. This is a whole show's worth of material to cover, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, all this. I could talk about half these shows for like 2 hours.
Still needed structure.
My point is this. We all know how to off the cuff and talk this stuff. So I'm going to go to you, Kyle, and then I'm going to go over to you, Andres. And look, you got a smorgasbord here. Pick and choose, right? We've only got so much time to work with, right? The stuff that you're into and whatnot, and that maybe you're really into, or you're looking forward to, or maybe you're not looking forward. You think they're fucking up, right? Or you don't like the direction at all. Then go ahead and have at it.
So this list of things is so James Gunn, it's ridiculous because it is all over the map. You have the obscurity, which is what James Gunn loves. He loves working with these obscure characters. You've got him trying to keep to the mainstream with the Batman, the Brave and the Bold project, and the Superman project, and the Supergirl project. And then you've just got him diving back into what he's comfortable with things like Waller and Swamp Thing. But what I will say about this is what James Gunn is doing, and I think this is actually something that Marvel actually has learned this lesson too, because it's coming out of Phase 4, is that you can't make everything for everybody. And he's going in already with that knowledge. And I think that kind of puts him ahead of the game. And he's not going to make all these DC projects to please everybody. He's going to try to please certain fans here, certain fans there. I think where the mistake is being made, personally, is in the aspect of, I think it's too soon to try to tackle Batman and Superman. Let's do some of these other characters, get this kind of world established. And I think since you're doing chapters, make chapter 2 where you get your Trinity in. Let's build this world up with some pieces here. There's things on here I'm very excited for and I'm very intrigued by. I'm actually very intrigued by Swamp Thing because looks like they've nailed down James Mangold to direct it. Yeah. So I am very intrigued by that. I am a huge fan of The Authority. The run that Warren Ellis did from when he morphed Stormwatch into The Authority is some of the best comics that have ever hit. And very adult themed, very hardcore comics. So I'm curious to see how they translate to their. Viola Davis as Amanda Waller is a force to be reckoned with, and anything putting Amanda Waller, whether it's in Suicide Squad, whether it's Peacemaker, giving her own show, that's one of the best things DC has going right now is Amanda Waller. There's a few other things though that you guys we've talked about the shows, but there's a couple things both Mangold and Safran addressed that I found very interesting. You guys talked about Henry Cavill. James Gunn actually apologized to Henry Cavill, saying he got dicked over. The powers that be before he came in had already made this decision. They dicked him over, making him believe that he was coming back. And so I've given him credit for that. What I found even more uniquely interesting, though, was they refused to really address the Ezra Miller issue. And that tells me that they're handcuffed. But Safran also said, and Gunn both said, this is one of the Flash movie is going to be one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. I'm like, yeah, how much spin control are we putting on this film right now? Because it's more
weird.
It's very weird because I've heard so many reports of the test screenings just blowing people away, and so that's very interesting as well. But I at least feel like that James Gunn is at least giving DC a direction it hasn't had, and he's not forcing them down one path with everything being the same like what Zack Snyder did. And I think that's a key aspect. I think Gunn is going to keep things diversified within the DC universe, so you're going to have different stories going on instead of just trying to make everything to please everybody. He's going to make things that are true to the character, and if people like it, great. If not, that's fine too, because he doesn't. I don't think he really cares. I think he's just I'm going to make what I want to make, and that's what it is. And I think that's maybe something that people look at Marvel and say Marvel doesn't have that attitude anymore. We're going to just make what we're going to make, and we don't care. We've got to fit it into this box. And I think that's some of the lessons that they've learned from Phase 4. The other thing I wanted to say about this too is they have a plan of 2 movies a year plus 2 HBO Max shows. I think that is the perfect balance where you're getting something for everybody, but you're not overflowing the fans with content, which I think was one of the biggest mistakes Marvel made in Phase 4 was just so much content in a short amount of time. And I think they did burn out their fan base in the aspect of we can't keep up with all of this. We need a little break between this every now and then. And they really didn't between the films and Disney Plus. And I think you've even seen just how Marvel's already changing their timetables over the last few months. They realized, we need to kind of slow down some. Yeah, then there's that too.
Well, I mean, they're automatically doing that. They got rid of 2 Disney Plus release dates or movie release dates already. They changed Armor Wars into a movie instead of a Disney Plus show.
That was a good move, though, I think, strategically.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, look, Marvel is Marvel. Marvel Studios know they listen to the fans properly. They do not do the thing that Warner Bros. Has made a mistake is reactionary. Marvel knew that Phase 4 was lacking, but it didn't mean they they now have a plan of doing the multiverse saga. So
what happened? So what happened when they signed her to a fucking 17 movie contract?
Well, we all make mistakes. But...
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, Kyle. Before I go to you, Andres, Kyle, I do have a question for you. Now, hold on a minute, though. Let me make sure I understand this. And Andres, you can bounce out this too. Now, if I understand this correctly, though, with Snyder, right? He didn't have that kind of overarching control. They didn't just give him fucking carte blanche and say, here, go ahead, like, do what you want. Go wherever direction you want and whatnot. Like, what they're doing with Gunn. They're actually putting Gunn in a creative position with Safran, right?
Yeah,
Gunn is a creative engine.
Right, Gunn's the creative engine, but
he's a shot caller.
He's the shot caller too.
He's a shot caller in the storytelling, on the fucking actual...
The storytelling, but there's one other thing that I found, it's a good point, Jeff, and there's one other thing. Zaslav is still there, and he still has the final trigger, and he's got the axe blade ready. But one of the other things that they talked about was Batgirl, and Safran said Batgirl was unwatchable.
Well, I just think it's important to point out, and I'm not sitting here trying to defend Snyder. I don't even know that much about the stuff. All I know is that if I understand it correctly, Snyder did not have that kind of situation with Warner Brothers and all that whatnot.
No, but
it wasn't like that.
Nobody has that.
No, but they were telling him more than anything, like what he could do.
Well, yeah, yes, and no. They gave him a lot of rope, but he kind of, in ways I can't badmouth Zack Snyder because what happened to his family, and that caused all that is not that I can't do it. But what else was this? Warner Brothers gave him enough rope that he hung himself with it a little bit too. So there is that. There's one other thing too with this list, Jeff. You were talking about comparing the Authority to the Thunderbolts. No. The Thunderbolts are pussies compared to the Authority.
Oh, of course they are. That's the point. That's the connective tissue. And Andres, you can go ahead and jump in on this. There is connective tissue here, and that's Gunn. And it is Gunn. Yeah. I think one of you already mentioned that. Kyle, somebody already mentioned that. It's Gunn. That's the connective tissue. He's picking all these characters out that specifically are his type of characters, where he can push them. He can make them R-rated. He can make them hard PG. Right? Like, he can go Suicide Squad and have, like, random titty shots or whatever.
I will guarantee you, looking at this list, I bet you Creature Commandos is an R-rated animated. Waller will be an R-rated show. Swamp Thing will definitely be R. And the Authority will definitely be R.
Well, that's good, because I want to see Swamp Thing's dick. I do. I want to see if it's like a mine or like a fucking...
I said R, not X.
But no, but Andres, you get what I'm saying though? Like, there is a connective tissue there. It's just not the same linear type we think of in the MCU phase 1 through 3, where it's all based off of like the post credits and right, like the what Gunn talked about, and Saffron talked about using baseline characters to spawn other characters, right? The MCU crafted that and made that into their formula. Well, at that point, this is a different kind of connective tissue. This is a situation where, like, again, with Peacemaker, you've got a Suicide Squad type vibe possible with all these type of entities, as far as what I understand and grasp, right? No, I want to get Andres on this. Am I not correct, Andres? Any one of these series can go into like an R-rated direction.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I agree. I don't have no problem having these properties be rated R. I mean, the Fox X-Men films had success with that, with Deadpool and Logan. So yeah, you can do that, but the thing about that's a little dangerous and a little too risky for DC to do that.
Oh, they'll mix it up. I know they will. I'm just saying they can. They could if they wanted to.
Yeah, they couldn't have wanted to. We just don't know which one they are going to be rated R and all that. So it's definitely like Waller is going to be rated R because the Peacemaker was like that as well, and so it's not like a big surprise. So but yeah, I don't know. Like Authority could be that. We'll see. But yeah, yeah. So speaking of this presentation and this whole thing, I just going to Cyber about Superman. We just need a complete reboot for Superman. Like, I love Henry Cavill as well. I think he's the perfect Superman. I think he's second after Christopher Reeve. But it's just the Snyderverse is just too toxic, and just bringing back Henry could cause problems. Divide yet again the fan base, and so I am very happy that we're getting another Superman movie. And I thank God it's starting the new universe. I'm happy about that because Superman is the most important character in DC, in general, superhero genre. So I'm happy about that. I just wish, in terms of presentation, I wish they do something like I wish Gunn just learned the things what makes announcements so exciting. Like I wish we had some film logos for all these properties, like how Marvel always do it with their films when they do Comic-Con or whatever presentations they have, like D23, whatever. Like I wish we had some film logos, like especially Superman Legacy, because this movie is gonna come out like we got the release date of that like in 2 years from now. Like I wish we got a logo to go with that, just like how Marvel does.
It's too soon. It's too soon because they still. Yeah. I think Gunn basically did this presentation on the fly just to satisfy the people screaming, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?"
I agree, Kyle. Yeah.
But wait a minute though. Don't you think that he really has no choice though, Andres and Kyle, everybody? I mean, honestly, think about it. So, you have to realize at this point, after what happened with Phase 4 with Marvel, this superhero trope thing and whatnot, it's going to die at some point. It's going to lose its luster. It has.
No. It's not related to Marvel. It's related to them, DC, because they just announced like the difference between Marvel. Marvel keep their promises with their projects. Like, yeah, Phase 4 was hunky, but because it was because of COVID. But we got all the projects that they announced, and there's some that just got changed and got pushed into the next phase. But with DC, it's like you're promising these various projects. Like, you remember, like, what was it, 10 years ago or like 9 years ago, 2014, Marvel released their Phase 3 release, their lineup in the Chinese theater, right? And then Warner Bros. Did that. They released their like whole lineup of their initial plans, and then guess what? None of them, like the Flash movie, did not came out in 2018. Like Green Lantern Corps was supposed to be a movie, and that didn't happen. So like they have to do this because they, but it's just like we've already been burned of these so much like promises and like all these projects that were supposed to come and that didn't happen. So so yeah, it's just like I need to see when it actually, like, when we get a trailer or behind the scenes set like the Blue Beetle, like then I know they're making a movie and then it's official. Yeah, so I'm like least excited thing for me for this announcement was I think commanders, creature commandos. Like I'm not familiar with these like team. So if Gunn is able to do like the Werewolf by Night success, then go ahead. That's good for you. It sounds interesting, but it's just too similar to Werewolf by Night, maybe. But I don't know. My favorite, like my excited, like oh my god, my excited DC project from this announcement has to be either Lanterns or the Brave and the Bold. Like, I'm a Batman fan. I'm very excited to get a Robin. We've been not having Robin in any of these Batman movies is so disappointing. Like, I really want to see a Bat family, and thank goodness that Gunn at least promised us that. And so that's good, because I do want to see Robin and Batgirl in these films, and especially Batgirl getting canceled. It's like, oh my god, it's disappointing. So I'm excited for Lanterns or Brave and the Bold. I think those two are my most anticipated / excited projects. I mean,
I want to see a House of Dragons like Targaryen vibe, right? With Supergirl and Superman and Superboy or whatever, whatnot, like some incestual type shit, right?
That's what the authority is for.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
that's
okay. All right.
Yep.
No. Go ahead, Andres. Go ahead.
Another thing, I'm very happy that Supergirl is getting a movie. Also, another thing, like, are we gonna get the Sasha Cohen, Kaya from The Flash being the Supergirl for this movie, or
no? It'll be
a new one, right?
Like you said, everything Zack Snyder and Snyderverse related. I think they have no choice but to distance themselves from, at least a little bit. I think you could, and then maybe like Chapter 2, maybe you could see a Gal Gadot come back or a Momoa come back. But I think for what they've got planned right now, they've got to get some distance from everything Zack Snyder did, or they're just creating the same problems that they currently have.
Well, I wish I had the financial capability, right, to do a sociological experiment, right, where I could make my own these films, right, like most superhero films, and have female nudity in them, right? Like have all my fucking female characters nude and having sex with shit.
Boys.
Boys.
Yeah, and all that, right? And and see how well it does. Like the impact, like financially, the box office and whatnot. And I'll have shitty actors and actors like that I find off the street or whatever, right? No, I'm kidding, but you see what I'm saying? Like, if I had the money, I'd love to do something like that and just see how it would do. Just based on the nudity alone.
Well, it would do well because that's a big part of why people like The Boys is because there's no holding back on that show.
Well, you know what? That's why I wanted to ask you guys one last question. That's basically that. Like, I'll tell you right now, when I reviewed Suicide Squad, right, in the Podcast of Champions, it was a situation where it was the kind of film that it allowed me to have the kind of humor, the kind of energy as a guest, where it spread throughout the show, right? Like, I had that impact on shows a lot of times when I do guest. People don't know that because they don't bring me on because they're afraid of me. But I actually am really good. And I carry the energy a lot of times, like with a pedal. I do. You know what I'm saying? When I want to and whatnot and everything. And with my humor, I'm just fucking around, Cyber. I'm not actually giving myself that many props. But with Suicide Squad, it was fun. Everyone was in agreement. Everyone was there talking to right now. Everyone was high-spirited for the review. The jokes went easy. Everybody wanted to laugh. It was a good time, right? Like,
yeah.
You know,
well, it was a good movie. It was
was.
you know?
But you know what Gunn did with it, that edge he brought to it, with the humor, right, was different than anything he could do with MCU with Guardians. He could never do anything like that. Right?
That comes down to also you've got Disney in charge of Marvel and you've got Warner in charge of DC. DC has always been a little bit more of the harder edge storyteller.
And that's the thing. And that's my point. Andre, it's not that I honestly think that it would sell to make all these properties R-rated. Are you kidding me? That would be insane. What I'm saying is that, like, that Gunn's willing to actually at least do some of them, I think, like that. Right?
Well, Gunn's willing to do that with the characters that are a little bit less well-known. You will never see an R-rated Superman film. You'll never see an R-rated Batman film. You'll never see an R-rated Spider-Man film.
No, because they have baselines. I mean, there's a precedent there. What I'm saying is that what I like about Gunn is that Gunn knows how to entertain people in real time. He is able to tap into the zeitgeist of what the fuck is going on right now in the culture, in reality, right? And say to himself, when he did Suicide Squad, it fit, right, for where we were at. That was my point with reviewing it, was that we all enjoyed it. It was fun. Even the more PG-13ish kind of like people on the show were more loose, right, than they usually were.
If you want to see Gunn's dark side on superhero to get kind of maybe an idea of what he might have planned for some of this, go watch the movie Brightburn.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Andres, I want to ask you this question really quick. I just want to pose this to you, and then we're gonna get out of here and do plugs. Now, you understand, right? As a Marvel fan, right? Mostly an MCU Marvel comic book fan, I kind of, in a way, feel like how you guys must feel sometimes. That when you have all this DC type knowledge, I feel sort of like, in a position where these titles, as I see them, I don't know how you guys are viewing them. I'll talk to Cyber about it. I can tell he's stoked about it. I'm geeked about this shit, right? Like, I see this as all positive to me as I'm looking at it. To me, I don't know as well as you guys do. But this all looks fucking dope. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this shit looks good. I like Gunn. I trust him. Right? Like, I think he'll do a good job. Swamp Thing's fucking dope. If he's done right, I've seen him in the animated films. He's fucking awesome. The powers he has, his abilities and shit and whatnot are fucking crazy. What he can do. Right? Like, he can actually fucking do he can do, like, serious shit. He can, like, teleport people and shit and all that kind of crap, can't he?
Oh, with Swamp Thing, there are so many different directions they could go. They could play up the campy style of it. They could go Grant Morrison run and be really a mind.
He's like a quasi god. When I saw him in a couple of the animated films, he's like a quasi god level type.
Oh yeah. There's several directions you can go with Swamp Thing, and I think Gunn if Mangold's going to direct it, yeah, they're gonna take all those directions and find a way to incorporate them into that film.
Okay, so Cyber, let me ask you a question, Cyber. How do you feel about it? I mean, how do you feel about the slate? Just kind of your last thoughts on it and whatnot. Are you geeked out about this shit like I am? Or are you stoked? Like, I mean, I'm impressed by this.
No, I'm not.
No?
Like I said before, there's goods and lows to it, I felt. And I'm excited for several of the features that are coming out this year. Like I said, I have Superman Legacy, the Supergirl film. The Supergirl film I'm a little more excited for than the Superman film. Once again, I just don't like the premise of the Superman film. I like the premise of the Supergirl film. I think it's an interesting concept. getting to know Supergirl more. We really didn't get that. There was the one film in 1984 Supergirl movie that they made that it was kind of like, kind of they're trying to get, a female version of Superman going a little bit, but it really didn't go anywhere. It wasn't a huge hit with the fans, but it was an okay film. So it's definitely something that, I feel that, a lot of fans would like to see is another live action film of Supergirl on the big screen. And the Supergirl TV series wasn't too shabby. It was pretty popular. I thought it was enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of a different type of Superman kind of character. So that's why I'm more excited for that. Like I said, I'm not excited about the Superman film because I just don't like the concept of it being, he's supposed to be like 25 and he's supposed to be dealing with, it's basically watching Smallville all over again, because that's what Smallville was all about. And I felt that they did a great job of taking that and closing that series out and closing that chapter of, Clark Kent, aka Superman's legacy. So I feel that tarnishes Smallville a little bit by doing that. And I just don't, it just does not interest me. I want to see more Henry Cavill. I just like Henry Cavill. It's that simple. Not everyone's going to agree, but that's just how I feel about it. But other than that, like I said, I was saying before, the Lanterns TV series, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really geeked out about that. I'm looking forward to The Authority. I'm really geeking out about that. And, several of the projects sound interesting to me. Just some I'm not too excited about. So I'm not geeking out about it all, but some of it I am.
Okay. Kyle, do you have any final thoughts on the list and whatnot?
There's several things I'm intrigued by, because they can go in so many different directions. I'm kind of in agreement with Cyber. I don't know if this is how you want to bring back Superman with this kind of story, but I think Gunn is I personally think both anything Batman and anything Superman should be pushed back to the back end of this slate, because I just think you need some time to get some distance. And yes, it's going to be 2025 before we see any of this stuff, but the fact that you also have the Matt Reeves Batman, which is basically now turned into an Elseworlds type movie, you have that. But like I said, I'm very curious. I'm curious about The Authority. I'm curious about Brave and Bold, because one, who are they going to get to play Batman, and more importantly, I think it's just as important as who they get to play Damian Wayne, because that's a very popular character, but it's a very diverse character that does have the fans of Batman kind of split too. But I think the character has a lot of interesting concepts, so it is going to be interesting, the casting of this. And I think it really is going to be a tell, even though James Gunn is kind of the head in charge. James Gunn is one of those people, he believes in the creators he brings in, and he's going to let them have room to play in that playground. So it's going to be very interesting to see who he brings in as some of the creators to work on some of these projects. I've even heard Ben Affleck's name thrown out for the Brave and the Bold, as they're going to maybe finally give him a chance to tell the Batman story he's always wanted to tell. But again, it's all hearsay. Right now, the only one that seems like it's for sure locked in is the fact that James Gunn is writing the Superman movie, and that James Mangold is going to come in and be the director for Swamp Thing. Everything else is still fairly up in the air, except I guess Waller and Creature Commandos will have a lot of Gunn influence in them. But it depends. Let's see some actor announcements and some creator announcements now, because I think that's the next step to see what direction they're going to go in and where the interest is going to be. And they've still got to deal with 2023 and these films coming out, which I think still makes Flash important, because I think that's the key to reset how they're going to reset to this new Gunverse or whatever they want to call it. Because I think that has always been the idea, is that the Flash movies are representing Flashpoint, and that gives them a chance to reboot. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Okay. Let's get the hell out of here, guys. 2 hours and 13 minutes, man. Let's plug and get the fuck out. Andres, how do I find your YouTube channel?
I just posted.
Oh, you got me. You sent it to me. I got it right here.
Can I post my final thoughts?
Yeah, have at it, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah. So very quickly. Yeah. I mean, I want to bring up that, thank goodness Gunn and make this official. I'm so happy that Elseworlds movies, like, we're gonna get Elseworld movies as well. So that's good. So that makes it keeps the Batman, Robert Pattinson verse safe. I'm very excited. Like it keeps also Todd Phillips Joker franchise safe as well. So because that's the other thing I like about DC is the Elseworld stories, films slash stories from the comics. And I want to see that in big screens. Like imagine seeing Superman Red Son as an Elseworld live action film, you know, or like see New Frontier being like a live action film. Like that would be incredible. Like so I'm very happy that the Elseworlds thing is sort of official now. Yeah, I you know for to make me be very excited with these films, they have to be different than what we got currently. Like Superman Legacy needs to be sort of like Superman Man of Tomorrow, the animation film, or you know, like just be honest, be such a like be a Superman movie, and like finally bring Brainiac in the film, please. Like I want that. Like Brainiac is my number one favorite DC slash Superman villain, please. And with Brave and the Bold, like they need to bring other fantastical Batman villains, you know, besides the main ones we always get. Like I want to see, you know, Clayface, Man Bat, you know, and Poison Ivy, like some of the more super enhanced villains, you know. And so, you know, so I think you know, for me, like they need to announce the creative team and all that actors to make me like go behind with this Gunverse thing, you know. That's you know that's why Marvel is successful because they get people that you like, and that's why you get excited for these projects. So that's my thoughts on the DC announcement.
That's fine. Now do your plug so we can get the fuck out of here, man. Come on now, Mr. DC
right.
super fan.
All right. Well, here. Thank you, Jeff. This is my channel, Andreas, the Pop Culture Channel Presents. So this is my first big review. The video I did, I was so happy, and it got me just commit to this channel and YouTube in general for the last 8 years. So if you go down, there's with the channels. If you go down, Jeff.
Where do you want me to
go? Go to channels. So these are my videos. I do top tens, and I have podcasts of various things. Yeah. So if you see here, DC Marvel Plus Talk, that's my secondary channel. Check that out. That's where my DC Plus Talk and my Marvel Plus Talk are there. I sometimes convert them over to the first channel if necessary, you know, for content. But yeah, so that's those are my two channels. Thank you everyone for being in this panel. This is such an amazing moment. I had such a great time. And it's also like it made me very happy because last month wasn't good for my family. Unfortunately, my dad passed away. And so I want to thank you guys for inviting me here. This is such a immense moment for me as a YouTuber.
No, the thanks all go to you, brother. You know what I'm saying, and whatnot, and everything. You know, and God bless your your father's soul and whatnot and everything, brother. You know what I'm saying, like you know, it's the honor and everything and whatnot, and the thanks are all in your direction from me and Cyberneticshark and the Bleeding Edge. I can tell you that right now. We just appreciate you coming on.
No. Thank you for inviting. I never imagined to be invited to someone's like This was a tremendous moment, and I want to thank all you three very much for putting me in this panel.
You thank me after you get done with She-Hulk, okay? when you meet her and everything and whatnot, you see how that goes and whatnot. Then we'll see how you thank
me. Hey! I think you need to hook up Red She-Hulk. She's much better than the Green She-Hulk. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm working on it. Okay. We'll see. Maybe during Secret Wars I can pull something off. Right? Maybe I can work something out with Kang or Dr. Doom or whatever. But no. Kyle, let me go ahead and pull you up, brother. Through the wonders of technology, I will screen share in a Star Trekian way, really quick, the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel. Bam.
There we are.
There we are, baby. Now, what would you like me to display, my friend?
Just click videos. That'll give. Well, we got a lot of stuff going on with Star Wars. Has actually been very busy with our What a Piece of Junk show because we have been the Bad Batch to talk about. We've been talking about a lot of Star Trek things here with Prodigy and Picard ready around the corner. We have our Time Warp where we go back We've been going back to covering a year of films from the different years of the 80s. True Believers, of course, everything on our Marvel podcast. Union Fed covering everything Star Trek and the Orville, and of course Blood of Kings covering everything Highlander. Plus, so many of our other shows, including our live broadcasts that we do. Mostly our Culture Class show covering all the news and fandom. Of course, you can also find all of these shows on we do the audio feed on our podcast at fpnet.podbean.com. But
I got it.
We cover a lot of stuff at the Fandom Podcast Network. We keep busy and try to stay out of trouble or create some trouble, one or the other. But yeah, we cover a lot, and like I said, sometimes I forget how much we cover, but it's something we're proud of. We're actually entering year 7 now of the Fandom Podcast Network, so it's been a fun ride, and we get to meet crazy people like Jeff. I haven't decided if that's been a good or bad thing yet.
Oh, shut up. You know as well as I do, eventually at some point we're going to end up getting together and fucking going and watching together or some shit or something down the road. It's going to happen. It's only inevitable. You know that our friendship has like grown over the time, so.
Oh, but is it like that fungus in The Last of Us? I haven't decided.
It is, yes. It's like that. The fucking the cordyceps. It's cordyceps, bitch. That's what it is too. It ain't herpes. It's cordyceps.
So, Cyber, you've known him longer than I have. Is he speaking the truth?
He is cordyceps.
Okay, that's what I figured.
I had cordyceps, but then I jumped in my Bacta tank real quick, and it's gone now. So,
He thinks it is, but it's still there.
As we say at the Phantom Podcast Network, we try to bring you podcasts to feed your ears. So hopefully we've been successful in doing that. I just gotta say too, Last of Us, awesome show. If you are not watching The Last of Us, figure out. I don't know what your problem is, but
are you gonna come out and do one of our? Are you guys reviewing it?
We just did the first 3 episodes on a live episode of Culture Clash that we put out yesterday. We covered the first 3 episodes with author and writer John Mosby. So awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to more Last of Us, but and I'm waiting for Jeff's follow through special episode after his 6th Willow rewatch.
There you go. And Kyle, come on now. You already know that we're covering The Last of Us, so if you want to jump on an episode, you're
absolutely.
Welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on up. Cyberneticshark, my friend. What is our sub count at? Oh, 536.
536, sir, yes. But we're at 536. Of course, that's not showing my most recent trailer reaction. There it is, John Wick Chapter 4. That's the most recent upload I did. I just did it the other day. Yesterday, actually, it dropped today. But yeah, if you enjoy me here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge and want to check out my solo content, you can find me under Cyberneticshark on YouTube. You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, Rizzle, Instagram, everywhere you can think of. As you can see there, I'm recently doing the Tremors series for my shorts, which has been fun. I love those films. I think they're fantastic. And just a lot of great stuff going on in the shorts there. But yeah, I mean, if you enjoy me on here, definitely go check that stuff out. Let's get that wonderful subscriber count up to 750 for the next goal. And still, I want to thank everyone that has brought me to 536. You guys have been great. You guys rock. And lots more to come.
Hey, let's thank Chloe Zhao for those 2 views for the Eternals.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's got great views, and then Eternals, 2 views.
Hey, Dungeons and Dragons fucking kicked fucking Eternals' ass.
Yep. Turtles, I'm sure there's a few of those I've had that I put up that have had it's like 1, 2. It's pretty funny. But it is just what the algorithm is. So biggie.
If you just would have had that for your thumbnail, it would have been 18,000 views.
There we go. Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
Anyways, folks. All right. Well, I have nothing to plug, folks, because I don't have time to make individual content anymore. I'm too busy fucking doing threesomes and shit, and hanging out in the Bacta tank and here and there from spell to spell.
What are you doing Sunday, sir?
On Sunday, folks, at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, with my special guest co-host, Renee Loki's mom, from the podcast of champions, car.freeforums.net, we will be getting after it with our guest panel, another fucking guest panel, with more new blood, Just like every fucking panel on the Bleeding Edge, baby. Because True Knowledge gets after it, motherfucker. I grind, folks. Anyways, we're doing Echo, the Disney Plus series, and then we're going to tie it into Daredevil Born Again for the second half of the show. And who knows, since I'm fucking moderating, it might go for 4 hours. So who the fuck knows?
If Daredevil's involved, yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to take it 4 hours.
And the last hour might just be me and Renee talking about Porno Drive-In. For the last hour. Porn Drive-In. Right? There you go. Or maybe Jasmine will pop on and talk about how if she was there in the DC animated film, she would have gave the Cedra a blowjob. Who knows? You never know. Right, Cyber?
Yep, that's correct.
Jasmine would be like,
Chewbacca wouldn't have been there because it's DC.
Jasmine would just be like, I would have taken care of him already.
Yep.
Like he already would have been done. But anyways, folks, no. So and then hey, Last of Us episode 4, next Wednesday, right? It turns out it wasn't just Cyberneticshark that some of the panel that was a little disappointed with the episode, and I thought it was great. Episode 3. I've been looking at the internet, and it looks like a lot of people didn't like it very much. So hey, you know what? Everybody's opinions are valid. I just liked it. I thought it was a really good episode. I like HBO Studios. I do. I'm a little biased, but no, folks, we're doing The Last of Us. Shit, it's gonna be a quick series. Before you know it, it'll be over. And before you know it, Secret Invasion will be coming out. Right? So, we're gonna be doing Sunday. Just so you know, Andres, every Sunday we're doing Marvel. Phase 5, Phase 6 previews all the way up to Secret Invasion, baby.
Mm.
And somewhere along the lines, we gotta try to fit in our ranking shows too, Cyber. We're gonna do like a Saturday show or something to do our ranking shows. And we're finally gonna do our Friday 10K special. That's Friday. I've got blooper reels and all kinds of funny shit. It's gonna be great. I've got the moment from last week or whatever where I pulled up the Lion King fucking song instead of the trailer. Tarzan. Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck is this or whatever. It was fucking hilarious. Funny as shit.
That was funny.
Yeah. I went to go pull up the trailer for Superman Doomsday, and it was the Lion King or whatever, like Phil Collins or something. Yeah, it was hilarious. Anyways, folks. Thank you to the panel. Thank you to Kyle. Shout out to Kevin. True Believers, baby. Andres, my friend. God bless your family. God bless your father. God bless you, my friend. Thank you for having the courage and the balls to get on the phone and give me a fucking call, motherfucker. And aren't you glad you did? Because I told you, brother, you'd have fun. There you go.
I did.
Hey, me too, man. and after this, I'm going to get down by fucking She-Hulk and Wonder Woman. So there you go. This will be wonderful. You guys convinced me. That's the route I gotta go.
And right? He was never heard from again.
Now once She-Hulk fucking pops your chair, you might as well go for fucking Wonder Woman too. Why not? Have at it.